Max, did you watch the Game Awards?
I, in fact, did not. Don't really. No, I don't want to say that I don't care about that show, but it's just not really in my interest. Most of the games that are nominees, I did not play anyway, so I don't really relate with the games that are being represented. I'm fine with just seeing the list the day after.
That's fine. I kind of feel the same way. I don't play a whole lot of modern games, at least not in the year that they come out. So seeing the actual awards themselves doesn't make a whole lot of difference to me. But what does interest me is all of the reveal trailers that come out around the time of the Game Awards, and that's what I'd like to talk about at first. Now, you went through and you watched some of the trailers. Did you watch all of them, or did you just kind of like pick and choose from a list?
No, I went on IGN, and I think every trailer from new games were there, so I watched all of those. Some I skimmed, but yeah, I watched everything. And the main, I knew you told me that you were pretty excited about the new games that were announced and everything, and I don't get how people can get excited with those trailers. There were a couple of good trailers, but like the 5 first trailers that I watched, there's just no gameplay in those trailers. Like there's the new space game from
Naughty Dog.
From Naughty Dog, and like sure the trailer is pretty good, but what's the game? I'm sure it's a like third person game over the shoulder and stuff, but we actually don't know. We don't know, is there any space travel or is that automatic? Like we don't know. It's just we know that there's a girl that's in space, and like that's all the trailer did. So to me that's really not exciting, but because I don't know what the game is. The setting might be cool, but an idea is fine, it looks good, but it doesn't tell the whole story, and that to me is pretty crazy. Like the one that I was mostly angry about when I told you that I was going to be pissy tonight is the Borderlands 4 trailer. It's specifically called gameplay trailer, and I've calculated there's exactly 3.5 seconds of gameplay in the whole thing.
Well, that's gameplay, though, so they can call it a gameplay
Yeah,
trailer.
exactly. They did put some in there.
Yeah, I can totally understand that viewpoint. I look at this kind of show as, like, not so much telling us, like, what these games are going to be exactly, but more so just showing an announcement of, like, the idea of what these new AAA games are trying to be.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the majority of the trailers. There were a couple games that I wasn't super hot on that I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care about that. It's not my thing. But it still looks cool, and I'll be excited for the people when they get that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, for myself, I wrote down 5 games that I am excited for. And I'm gonna talk about them from the one that I'm least excited for, to the most excited for. And it looks like you have 6 that you have written down.
Yeah,
here,
but
so why don't you go ahead and?
Yeah, I can tell. My 6th one, it's not my least excited from, but The Last of Us Part 2 will come to PC. So I did play The Last of Us Part 1 this year, and the second season of the show is coming next year too. So I'm pretty excited to watch the show and then go and dig into The Last of Us Part 2. I don't have any PlayStation, so being finally able to play that game on my PC, I'm pretty excited about that. Even though it's not a new game.
Yeah, that's totally fair. That game's really good. Like, if you like the first one, the second one, I think is even better. So, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to dig into that. I've heard it's pretty divisive.
Yeah, it's a little divisive. it's a very good video game. I don't want to necessarily say that's a good time because it's a pretty
Yeah.
like hard story. Like it's not like a fun romp.
Yeah.
Right. It's like The Last of Us was not exactly a fun time.
No, exactly.
Story wise, but it was still a good video game.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But number 5 game that I'm excited for is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. New Ninja Gaiden from the team that brought us Blasphemous. From what we're understanding so far, it's not going to be a Metroidvania. It's going to be a classic, like side-scrolling action level-based game with ninjas. So long as it doesn't have a Falling Rocks level, I'll be fine.
Yeah, same for me. It's on my list too. It looks really good, and there's a bunch of gameplay in the trailer, so we could get a sense of what the game is gonna look like. And the pixel art is very like Game Boy Advance inspired that I found, like the color palette and everything, and I think that's cool. It's not the kind of pixel art that we usually see from newer pixel art games. So yeah.
Did you play Blasphemous?
No, I did not.
Okay. The pixel art in a lot of ways does look like Blasphemous, which it's not surprising since it's the same team.
I see.
So obviously Blasphemous it's a lot darker in its tone and character designs and everything, but I think they've kind of nailed that style of what they're trying to do with the fidelity of their pixel art.
That's beautiful.
It's a really fun game. You should try that one at some point.
I think I will. It looks pretty good.
My number 4 game is a game called Catly.
Okay.
And it's a game where you it looks like a simulation game where you take care of cats, and I have 6 cats, so I kind of like cats, and I'll play the game with the cats in it.
Yeah, I think I missed that one. I did not see it.
Okay.
My number 4, I will say, is Rematch. It's like it looks like a mix between real life soccer and fake cast soccer. It's kind of Rocket League but with actual soccer in it. I like Rocket League, and Mario Strikers on the GameCube is like one of my favorite games. I did not talk about it in the first episode, but I really like that soccer game. And that one looks like arcadey enough that I would maybe want to sink a bit of time. I'm not big into multiplayer games, but it looked fun. It just looked like action, dumb action soccer.
If that game has a single player campaign, I will definitely play it, because I like a good arcadey soccer game. I don't remember if we talked about it in the first episode either, but one of my favorite games that I really love is Captain Tsubasa: Rise of the New Champions, which is a anime soccer game that's based on a anime from like 1982. So
yeah.
But that's besides the point. My number 3 game is The Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah, I almost put that on my list. The trailer was pretty good for that one.
I really liked the first Outer Worlds, and the trailer was kind of meta, where they were talking about like the company that brought you Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 and Icewind Dale 2, and then they were like, and Fallout 3 2. We actually mean New Vegas. I thought that was really funny. And like, I like those games. I like what Obsidian does, and I really like the first Outer Worlds, and I just hope that this game has a little bit more of like the character personality that Obsidian is really known for, and because the first one felt a little lacking in terms of its like the world building and everything was great, but the way that like characters interacted with the world I felt was a little lacking. Like there could have been a little bit more like personality to all the NPCs. Not to I'll get off topic here talking about that game.
But
so
yeah,
we'll
but
just move on.
I do have the Other Worlds. It's free. It's been free for a bunch of times on the Epic Game Store. So yeah, I'm interested, and what I found pretty interesting, that trailer too. Like, I did not play the first one yet, but it felt like they were kind of piggybacking on the look and vibe of Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if the first one was like that, but like in the trailer there was 80s music and everything, and I was like, yeah, I think that's fine, but I feel like it removes a bit of originality from the thing, from that trailer to me, because it felt like it was a bit copying something else. But like that's just a minor point. Fair. Like it still looked fun. On my number,
all right,
my number 3 is Turok, the like reboot of Turok. It looks pretty intense. I don't think there was enough to really pass judgment on what the game will be and everything. But from what I've seen, it looks intense. It looks just like a dumb time shooting dinosaurs, and yeah, I'm pretty interested where this goes.
Are you familiar with the Turok franchise at all?
I've played the games back when, like 20 years ago, when I had my 64 for a bit, but like
on the 64.
It's very blurry, so I'm not super familiar with the franchise.
Okay. This looks really cool. I almost put this on the list. It barely got cut out as my number 5. So I'm interested in this also. Like, I've read some of the Turok comics back in the day, and this game looked more like Turok 2010 than it did like the classic Turok games, which were basically like Quake, like really fast-paced, hyper-quick games. So, but my number 2. This might come as a surprise, but Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. The Sonic Racing games have been surprisingly good since they initially launched. Like, they are really fun kart racers, and I'm happy that we're getting another one.
To me, it's not worthy of being included in the list just yet, because it's just a reveal trailer. There's no mechanic attached to it or anything. So yeah, fine. It's a new game, but what will make this one different from the others? So, but yeah, I can understand. I'm still excited for it too. I'm just not ready to be really excited.
Right. Yeah, I don't need it to be much different than the other, Sonic Racing games. If they just give me more of that, fine. Yeah. Like, I'll take that.
On my number 2, on my end, that my voice did something weird. I don't know why. But on my number 2, I have Split Fiction. I don't know if it will come to PC or just PlayStation or anything, but the game looked pretty interesting. The co-op gameplay, being in 2 different worlds, it looks interesting. And there were sections that really look like Donkey Kong Country, so that's a huge plus for me. But yeah, I don't really know where this game will go. It seems like it's pretty ambitious, and it wants to do a lot of platforming and different things. So just wait and see, but from what I've seen, sounds like a good time.
Yeah. And for my number 1, Onimusha, Way of the Sword. I am very excited that we're finally getting a return to Onimusha. I hope the gameplay is good. It looks they showed a little bit of gameplay, and it looks kind of Souls-like, and the old Onimusha games weren't, but they were some of my favorite games on the PlayStation 2. I've beaten the first 2, I've played a bit of the third one, and then the fourth one I recently picked up, but I've not played yet. So I think I'm gonna go back and play the rest of the Onimusha games, and then get ready for the new one. Actually, there's one that I don't own, and that's Onimusha Tactics for the Game Boy Advanced. But it doesn't really count. It's a tactics role-playing game. It's not a character action game.
Well, that's cool. I don't know much from the Onimusha series. I've heard from it on YouTube, but that's all. I've never touched any of those games. And on my end, my number one is the Pac-Man Metroidvania. It's called Shadow Labyrinth. Apparently, it's based on the TV show that just released on Prime, Secret Level. I did not watch those yet. I'm gonna watch those episodes, but yeah, it just looked such like a dumb idea. It it just looked like a fun Metroidvania with a very gory Pac-Man. That's a fun twist. That's something that Pac-Man never did, and I'm all ear for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. That one looked really cool also. Another one that's like, I have a list of like 15 games, and I had to whittle it down to 5, otherwise I'd be talking for,
but yeah, all in all, there was some good stuff. I skimmed through the list, and yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was interesting. It's just like the first 5 or 6 games in the list, there was like no gameplay, and that's my big pet peeve with with game trailers. I want to see what the game looks like.
Yeah, that's fair. I completely understand.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough about the Game Awards. Let's talk about Game of the Year here on the Trash Station Podcast, your gaming podcast all about weird, unknown, and forgotten video games. I am your host, Chris, also known as Scotch and Hobbies on the internet, and I'm here with my co-host, Max.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, in our friend circle, we're known to play some kind of trashy games. We're talking anime games, retro games you've never heard of, and the NDS stuff on itch.io, and everything in between.
And as usual, actually not as usual, because we're not adding any of these games to our tier list, but you can find our tier list somewhere in the show notes description.
Yeah. It's there. Thingy. It's there. It's down there on your app for sure.
Yeah. But we will talk about some of our creative hobbies and shout out some of our favorite content creators on the internet. And before we start getting into our actual full Game of the Year talk for this year, we wanted to talk briefly about the bingo challenge from our friends over at the Polykill podcast, because that's how we met and how we we met because of that podcast and how we got started, kind of. But we just wanted to kind of briefly talk about that because we both participated in that challenge this year. And what do you think of the bingo challenge overall?
To me, overall, the challenge was super fun. I thought this was the best idea they tried yet for a challenge. And just because there was such variety, and with the other challenges, like the alphabet challenge last year, where you had to play some games starting with each letter of the alphabet, you could just go ahead and play the games that you usually play and then fit them and find other games that you like that fit in those letters. But this year, since each square in those bingo boards had different categories, I was forced to go out of my way to try and play some games. Well, I wasn't forced. I wanted to beat all 75 squares. So since I wanted to do that, well, I was forced to go out of my way, out of my comfort zone, and play some games that I would probably not have played without that bingo challenge. And I think that's the beauty of the thing. I managed to beat more games than I do usual, and more good games in in a bigger variety. So yeah, I really like that. And for you?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think I tend to play a fairly wide variety of games for the most part anyway, but the bingo definitely... I tried to do a full board clear on all 3 boards also, and I didn't quite get there, but I got really, really close, and I think I'm fine with.
Yeah, and those
only
two
missing
squares
two
are
squares,
a bit restrictive because you need other people and you need to move out of the house. So it's you cannot just pick a game to do those squares. So
right, exactly. So the two squares that I am missing are beat a game with 4 players concurrently, whether that's 4 players playing the same game at the same time, or play a 4-player game together and beat the game together. So I was not able to complete that one, and the other one was beat a arcade game on an arcade cabinet. I don't own an arcade cabinet, and it's like I probably could have forced myself to find some time to get out and actually go to an arcade to play a game, but if I'm going to go to an arcade, I would rather go to an arcade where I actually have time to spend time there. And it's just been a struggle trying to find the time to get to a place that has arcade games that I can potentially beat. Because, so for instance, the movie theater here in town that I typically go to, they do have some arcade games, but it's like Pac-Man and Centipede and classic, 80s arcade games. And there's only a few of them, so, there's not any games that I could realistically beat. I'm not,
you cannot
really
do a perfect game of Pac-Man.
Just beat Donkey Kong fakely. But yeah, so there's an arcade that opened up that's kind of nearby my house a few miles away, but they're only open 5 days a week because it's a small business that's being run by one guy, and he wants to be able to have some time off. I've talked with the owner at a thing, which is how I found out about it, and he takes days off because he's the only one working there. Completely understandable. Or I have to go 45 minutes out of my way to go to Dave & Buster's, all the way in Kansas on the other side of town, which I don't necessarily want to do unless I have 6 hours to spend at Dave & Buster's, which is a lot of time to spend at an arcade. So it's just been a challenge to actually get out to it.
You really need an occasion to do that thing. I was pretty lucky to go to Polycon this summer and meet the guys, and I managed to beat a game at the arcade when we visited the arcade with SNES Drunk. So that was pretty fun. And I also managed to beat an arcade with my brother when we did our challenge earlier this summer. But yeah, that's sporadic. Without those instances, it would have been a challenge for me too. Well, actually, I have a Mega Touch arcade, so I could always fire that one up, but yeah.
Right. But yeah, as for the rest of the board, I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't know. I thought it was a good challenge this year. It was different than the Alphabet Challenge or the prior challenge to that, where
a game for every.
They did beat a game on every console that you own, which I try and spread out my gameplay over a lot of my consoles. I try and give each of them a little bit of love every year. I don't necessarily beat a game on every console that I own every year, but I definitely felt like this was it was the best. Oh God, sorry.
Did you have to cheat or use an analogous beat for any of the squares, or are you all fair and square on all the challenges?
So a couple of the squares I kind of had to fudge a little bit. So one of the squares was beat a game that Blink had streamed on his Twitch page, twitch.tv/Blinkoom, and he was doing a stream one day in the middle of the year where he was going through his backloggery and his backlog, because Backloggery, the website, had updated where they could do 3.5 stars or 4.5 stars, so they could do half star system now instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star system. And while he was streaming that, I asked him, I was like, hey, if I stream me going through all of my backloggery, would that count? And he said, yeah, that's fine. So I streamed like 6 hours of myself going through my backloggery, making sure that everything was up to date, and rating all of the games that I felt like I could reasonably rate that weren't games that I've owned for 15 years that I haven't beaten for 15 years, but, you know, I still consider beaten on my list. Like Devil May Cry, all 3 of those. I've owned all 3 of those games for a long time, but I've not actually played any Devil May Cry games for...
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, probably since 2008. So... I don't feel confident in like putting a star rating next to how I nostalgically feel about Devil May Cry without replaying those games, and they're kind of challenging, so I don't really want to right now. So that was fun. One. Yeah, that's kind of a cheat, but
the master of the rules.
Was okay, so
stamped. Yeah.
And then the other one was beat a game on a piece of hardware that you've never beaten a game on before. And I didn't buy any new hardware this year, so that one was, you know, not exactly an easy thing for me to do. So what I ended up doing was one of the games that I had bought off the PlayStation Network at some point in time was originally a Sega Saturn game, and I have never played a Sega Saturn before, so I ended up putting that game into that slot. And I guess actually I could change that because I played Sega CD games this year, which I had never played Sega CD games, and I beat some of my Sega CD games, so I could actually not cheat that square and put a Sega CD game into that slot.
I did have to cheat a little bit on a couple squares, but I think most of them are fine. Like there was a square to play a game that was featured on Tales of the Lesser Medium, and I played Tomb Raider, the 2013 reboot instead of the PS1 version that was featured on that podcast, because I was just more interested in the new version. And since I mostly never played AAA games, I was still getting out of my comfort zone, so that felt very fine for me. They have the same title too, so like whatever.
Right.
For the Kylie Square of beating a game that won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, I've beaten Last of Us Part 1 instead of Part 2 because I had not beaten Part 1 yet. So I wasn't going to go straight to the Part 2, and anyway, like if the Game Awards existed at that point in time, it would have won the Game of the Year, like pretty much, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
My own square, you had to beat games that last less than an hour and add like less than 50 on Metacritic or something. And I did not use Metacritic for my square. I just know that I've beaten a bunch of dumb Flash games that are objectively bad. So, like, whatever. That's the intent of the game, of beating some shitty games, and that's my square. So I can do what I want. Trevor McFur, I use save states because fuck that game. If you don't use save states, that game is insane.
I use save states also on Trevor McFur, but honestly, I think that game's pretty beatable without save states. Like, once you get to full power, you could basically just not die in that game. It's getting to the point where you have the full power on your ship.
The bosses can get a bit crazy with their attacks, and if you lose all your lives, you have to start back. Like, I think you have 2 continues or something like that, and then you have to restart every mission from the beginning, and it's just like such a slog. I was like, no, I'm not going through that slog every time I want to beat the game. So, but I did not use save states during the levels. I only use save states between the levels. So I meet the game halfway. Okay. Altered Beast. You had to play Altered Beast and beat Altered Beast, and I beat the arcade version because there's infinite continues, and I wanted to spend my time playing better games instead of learning Altered Beast on the Genesis. And that's literally not a cheat because it just said Altered Beast. It didn't say Altered Beast Genesis. So yeah, I was within the rules, but I know that was not the intent.
Yeah, so I think the only stipulation on the Altered Beast Square was like to not use save states or to not use. There's a cheat menu that you can go into in the Genesis version, which it was to not use the cheat menu either.
I was on the
I think
in
you're
the
fine
rules.
on that one.
I've beaten Medabots. I brought it to the game to the podcast. I spent over 50 hours in that game, and technically, the square says to beat a game with a time of over 50 hours on Metacritic, and there's two versions of this game. One of them is at 35 hours, and the other is at exactly 50 hours. And the square said over 50 hours. So technically, I'm kind of iffy on this one, but I did spend more than 50 hours in that game, and I did not. I also did main plus extra, so I think I'm fine. But it's still kind of a cheat. And finally, there's a square to get the platinum trophy, and I do not have a PS4 or a PS5, so I did complete Frogger and the Rumbling Adventures on my iPhone. It was an Apple Arcade game, and I did the Apple achievements, so I did the game 100%. So same intent, but yeah, it's technically not a platinum trophy.
Okay. I want to take a step back for just a minute. You said that The Last of Us almost certainly would have won Game of the Year in 2013 when it came out, and I am now looking at games that released in 2013, and this is obviously not a complete list, but it's the list that Google is giving me. And 2013 is actually a pretty fucking insane year for video games.
Oh yeah.
And I think The Last of Us probably still would have won, but it would have had some steep goddamn competition because it's up against BioShock Infinite, GTA 5, Beyond Two Souls, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. You got Battlefield 4, Pikmin 3, Outlast, and those are probably like the biggest name games. I mean, Dragon's Crown is in there, but that wasn't gonna get a Game of the Year as much as I loved Dragon's Crown.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pokemon X and Y also, like, damn, that's a tough year of games.
Banger. That's a banger of a year.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, specifically for AAA games, so I'm sure there's... Oh, Dragon's Dogma came out in 2013 also? God damn. Okay, I'm going to stop looking at this page, because I'm going to get distracted.
It would have fought. It had a chance. It
had a pretty strong chance. That's a really good game, but there were some other games. Like, I mean, BioShock Infinite was really, really well received on release and has kind of had its reputation tarnished a little bit over time because it's not quite as good as the other BioShock games, but people loved that game when it first came out. So, cool.
Anything else you wanted to highlight in your bingo board? Or yeah, that's it?
You know what? Let me go back to my board really quick.
I did do a couple of funny things too, like for my Travi 2 beats, the square called Travi 2 beats to beat exactly 2 game in the 2-week cycle. I beat a game called Travis and a game called 2 beats. So I like literally did a Travi 2 beats. So that was that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I like that. But yeah, so for the 3-peat square, where I had to play a game 3 times, I don't normally replay games very often, so I played a game called Late Shift, which is an FMV game where your choices affect how the outcome of the game turns out. And I tried to get different endings of that game, and I never was able to get like the good ending of that game.
Oh no!
But it was interesting. Like I think that game is actually really cool. So it's definitely worth checking out if you've not played it. As for other games, I don't think I really have anything else that I want to call out. I will say I really enjoyed the time travel square this year.
Yeah.
So Polykill also does a thing where they Travis will only consume media from a particular year, and this year it was chosen that the year should be 2002, and that's like squarely in my shit of PlayStation 2. So I played like I think 15 PlayStation 2 games that were released in 2002 this year.
So cool.
Just because I owned them and I hadn't played them yet, so that was a lot of fun for me to kind of force myself to play through some of the collection that I had just sitting on the shelf. And I think a couple of those games are going to come up in our greater discussion here today.
Exciting.
So, but I think that will move us on to our greater discussion. And we decided on a bunch of categories for different games that or different categories to express different games that we thought were some of our favorite games that we played this year. And do you have a better way to put that, Max? Or
yeah, we just wanted to shout out different games that we've played, not necessarily games that released in 2024, just the games that we've played, and shout them out in different ways. Like they're not all individually the best games that we've played, but they're the best in their own way, and that's why we decided on some serious categories, some less serious categories. You'll see them as we go along in the list, but yeah, just shouting out cool games for one reason or another.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. And I think we want to start with our honorable mentions, or do we want to do those at the end?
Yeah, let's do them right now. It would be a bit anticlimactic with the ending our list with a couple of games that didn't make the cut.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I can completely understand that. So, for me, I only put a couple of games into my honorable mentions. These are games that I really enjoyed playing that I couldn't quite figure out a way to fit into one of the categories, but I still wanted to, just kind of throw out there as like, hey, you should probably check out this game. And most of these I had not talked about on the podcast yet. So, the first one is Wanted Dead, which is this really weird third-person action game that feels like a PS3 game, but was made last year in 2023.
So cool.
It's absolutely insane. All of the dialogue is extremely stilted and weird, and there's like all kinds of mini games within the game, and the gameplay itself, it feels like a game that released for the PS3 in 2012. But it's not, and it's great.
Nice.
Steel Rising is another one. It is a Souls-like game that takes place in like 1800s Victorian era France, and you're an automaton, and you're on a mission for Marie Antoinette, and you're dealing with other like major political figures within the monarchy of France at that period of time, but in this alternate reality where machines have basically taken over for the working class.
Wow.
It's a very strange game. It's challenging, but not in the same way that like Dark Souls is challenging. Like it is a Souls-like, but I found it quite a bit easier than like Dark Souls. It's still 35 hours long.
Okay.
So it's not a quick game or anything, but it was very fun. And then Vi for the Sega CD that I talked about. I've gone back and I've dabbled with this a little bit more, and I'm going to continue to play it. But I don't normally play JRPGs, and I don't know what it is about this one being so simple that is really drawing me in to making me want to continue to play it. But it's a weird, unknown JRPG, and I think that's cool that it's so simple that it's making me want to keep playing it. And my final one is South Park and the Stick of Truth, which is just, I mean, it's fucking South Park.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's just South Park, but as a game.
Yeah, it's South Park, except it's a game. Like, it feels like an episode of South Park. It feels like a 3-episode series of South Park, and it is also a JRPG. It's a really good game, and it's made by Obsidian.
Yeah.
So same guys that we were talking about earlier that made Outer Wilds. This is one of their games from back in the PS3 era.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
They rock. Yeah, on my end, a couple notable mentions. The first game I've beaten this year is a Tiny Sticker Tale. It's a very cute, like, trade quest, collect-a-thon, 2D thing. You just stick stickers all around and collect stickers, and people are stickers. It's super cute. It just didn't fit in anything, but I had fun. I had fun playing that as my first beat of the year. Super Kiwi 64 Doomsday. That one is super good. Super Kiwi 64. I love that game, but this Doomsday DLC is really short. It's like only 2 levels added to the game, so not really worthy of an award. Iris the Giant is kind of a mix between Mega Man Battle Network and Slay the Spire. So you're kind of on a grid and you use your cards to kill the enemies and go through the waves, and it's a really fun roguelike card-based game like Slay the Spire. I had a lot of fun with it. I've beaten it a couple of times, but yeah, didn't manage to claw its way into an award. Lunistis 3D platformer, really good, but a bit too basic for my taste. Horizon Chase 2 was a super fun car game. It's just more Horizon Chase, so it wasn't special enough to be worthy of an award. And Danmaku Unlimited 3, it's a shmup that I played on my phone. I was really surprised of how well it played on my phone, and I did dive a little bit more into the shmup genre this year because of our friend Mr. Sparkle in the Discord. So that was fun, just trying to get a good score on that game. And finally, Xenosphere. It might come up later in the show, but it's like a spoiler game. You really have to play the game, otherwise you cannot talk about the game. The whole game is just a big spoiler. But yeah, it's a fun time.
Okay, so our first award that we want to give out is for our most rewarding beat. Max, why don't you go first on this one?
All right, I have 3 nominees for my most rewarding beat of the year. I have Slay the Spire. I started the game and I got really addicted right off the bat. I played like 24 hours in 3 days. And on my last run, I actually managed to beat the real boss of the game. So that was super, super nice. And I kind of save-scummed at the end. But I died maybe 10 times before I actually managed to get a good strategy with my build. Because I felt like my build could go through the last boss. And I actually managed to do it. So that was epic. Celeste 64, the B-sides. It's a mod of Select 64 level pack that our friend Widow did for Select 64. I do have a level that I designed in there, and it was super tough. It was so freaking tough. And yeah, in the end, I managed to beat most of the challenges. Some of them I had to cheese because it was way too fucking precise for me. But yeah, super rewarding being able to manage to beat something that my friend made, so that was fun. And finally, Build the Demon, a game I brought to the podcast for October. And yeah, just being able to finally beat a game that I had never beaten since I was a kid, and I tried like dozens of times. And that last level, that last world where it had invisible platforms, that it was super freaking cryptic and like a big maze on a time limit. So good. And my award goes to Build a Demon. Mostly because it kind of killed the demon of my past of finally giving a beat to this game. Yeah, Build a Demon,
Right.
Not the best game, but to me that was super fun actually making it to the end.
So you had recommended to me that I should do what you have done and put multiple games on the list here for each of the categories, and I didn't do that, despite the fact that I said I was going to. So I only have one game to talk about, and it's not a full game. It's a DLC for a game, and I don't give a fuck if anybody has a problem with that. It's Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. Holy fuck, this is hard as hell.
That's what I heard.
This is the hardest content that FromSoft has put out, in my opinion, so far, at least of what I have played. The easy bosses in Shadow of the Erdtree make some of the hard bosses in the main game look easy. This is insane how hard this fucking DLC is. And I spent like 50 hours in the DLC. So I say it counts.
Yeah.
It was...
Congrats.
Yeah. So I finally beat it. So the final boss is insane, and it's been patched now, which I haven't tried the patched version of the final boss yet, but he was really, really hard, and I ended up having to... I summoned a random other player to come in and help me, and anybody who's familiar with the game, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I was using a Colossal Greatsword, just the Colossal Greatsword, like pure strength build, and the guy that I summoned was using the Fingerprint Shield and heavy armor and a spear, so he was able to just stand there and essentially block all of the incoming attacks without taking damage because of how much poise his character had. And that guy helped me. He died like when the boss had so little health left, and it was a struggle for me to get that last like 2 hits onto the boss, but I finally did it, and it took like, that was 5 hours of me struggling against this boss. So very rewarding. It's very good DLC. Elden Ring's a fantastic game.
Amazing.
But we reached out to some of our friends and asked them if they wanted to give us some of their nominees for some of these categories as well. And I'm going to go ahead and go through our list here for most rewarding beat. Our friend Mr. Mo gives the beat to the Land Beneath Us. Says it was the rewarding part was that I at first beat the game around 45 hours, but I wanted the platinum and didn't know what to do for it, and there was nothing on the internet, so I reached out to the dev, and he said that I had to start a new game and do the meta progression differently, which I did, and it took me 6.5 hours, which also impressed the devs with the screenshot. He says very satisfying, which... Yeah, wow. I can see that being very satisfying.
Yeah, that's super cool. We also have a recommendation from Vayar. His award goes to Marsupilami Huba Venture, which was one of my favorite games last year. And yeah, he didn't give an explanation. The game isn't that hard, so maybe it's just not a platforming guy, because yeah, I could see that game especially if you went for the secret world, it can get a bit challenging.
He probably went for the
if
platinum.
you're not yeah. Oh yeah, if you went for the platinum, yeah, some of those challenges in the secret world are kind of tough.
Yeah.
Like you have to do it with a single hit point or something like that. Yeah, it's a super fun game, so yeah, I could see this being really rewarding.
And then our friend Josh from the Indie Quest podcast, he says Hollow Knight. It's a tough game, but extremely rewarding to play through front to back. And I can see that. Hollow Knight's been this game that I've been scared of because I am worried that I'm going to bounce off of it when I try and play it because of how difficult it is. So
yeah, and it's super long too.
Yeah, it's like 40
I know
hours.
you're not afraid of long games, but still. And finally, we have our friend Guido, and his award goes to Lock, which is a puzzle game made in the Dreams engine for PS family of systems. So, yeah. From what I've heard, those puzzles can get pretty challenging.
Yeah. That's supposed to be really good, and I've not played any of Dreams yet, which is surprising because I love so many garbage games, and I'm sure there's many in Dreams.
True. You should probably get on it before Dreams die.
Yeah, I know. All right.
So that was our most rewarding beat section. So once again, our picks were Build a Demon and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC.
Excellent. Next up is our biggest surprise. And Max, how did you come up with your idea of what you thought was your biggest surprise? I'll let you go ahead and go first again.
Yeah, I do have a couple different definitions of surprise. My first surprise nomination is for Katana Zero. Like, I knew this was supposed to be a great game, but I was surprised of how much I actually ended up liking the game. I've beaten the game 3 times. I've beaten it like the normal story, the normal speed run, and the hard speed run, like back to back to back. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was super fun, and I was surprised of how much I actually liked the game, even though I knew it was supposed to be a good game. My second one is Alfonso's Bowling Challenge, which is a Pico 8 game, and this one was surprising because it's just batshit crazy. It's just super funny. I think I talked about it because of Mr. Mo's email a couple episodes back. But yeah, game is super funny. I wasn't expecting an hilarious game, so that was surprising. And finally, Cybertrash Statics, which I brought last week. To me, it was super surprising because the game cost me like $5 or even less. I think it was $4 something, mm-hmm. And it was way deeper than I thought. The gameplay was super good. So yeah, it was surprising because I wasn't expecting anything from that game, and it ended up being like an absolute banger. So that was my 3 different surprises. Surprises because how much I liked it, how much it was funny, and how much it actually ended being good. And my award goes to Cybertrash Statics. I think I like Katana Zero more, but it wasn't as much of a surprise because I knew Katana Zero was supposed to be good. And just fighting that diamond in the rough, such a good feeling. I also sent the episode to the dev and was really happy with us playing the game and everything. So yeah, super awesome. Super good find, and just a fun time all around. Once again, it's a banger.
I'm really looking forward to digging into that developer's library sometime early next year, because we were looking at their games after our last recording, and they look so cool. I'm very excited for when we
it's just like they have a bunch of fun things. They all have a lot of personality, so yeah.
All right, so for me, my biggest surprise, again, I only have one nomination, and it is a game called Pirates: The Legend of the Black Cat. And this game is so surprising for me because it's this PS2 game that you will find in like so many just like lots of video games that you find
Mm-hmm.
on eBay. Like it's the one that always just comes in a collection. Like it's an EA published game. It's everywhere. Like you'll find this at every retro video game store for like $5 to $10. And it's actually good. Like it's actually really good. This game absolutely inspired Assassin's Creed Black Flag because it's
Mm-hmm.
basically an open world pirate game where you can get on your boat and go anywhere you want within not the entire world like Assassin's Creed is, but within like a certain like radius map. It's extremely ambitious for a PS2 game that came out in 2002, and I was absolutely enthralled by this game. But when I was playing it, I thought it was going to be kind of garbage, and I was going to play it for a few hours and then never turn around, never look at it again. And it's actually really, really fun.
Yeah, I watched you for a bit when you did your 2002 tier list, and this one really caught my eye. I wanted to play it for the bingo challenge, but I ended up beating the 2002 square by accident, so it's one I would like to dig into next year.
Yeah, it's really cool. It kind of sucks that they never like made a sequel to this, like a real legitimate sequel. Their EA did make another Pirates game, but it's supposed to be not as good and takes place in like not the same universe. It would have been cool to see this character, Black Cat, in another game and continue on with her story. So
Yeah.
was a very cool game.
Cool
EA
game.
wasn't all bad back in the day.
No, exactly. They did publish some gems around that time.
Yeah. All right. Our next category is Best Art Direction. And this one was very tough for me.
Yeah, why?
So
What was tough to pick? Because all the games you play look like trash?
no, I don't think so. I think it was tough for me to pick a game for Best Art Direction because I think a lot of the games either kind of feel a lot like very similar to a lot of other games
Yeah.
that I played, or they like the way that they're stylized didn't really stand out to me that much.
Okay.
But I did have two, and I'll go ahead and talk about mine real quick first. And the two that I have that really stood out to me are Infini, which I talked about on the last podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which is just an insane looking puzzle game, and Dead Space 2, which is it's Dead Space 2. And the reason the art direction stands out in Dead Space is just because of the limitations of the PS3 and how graphic they're able to make that game while staying within those limitations of that generation of hardware. Like the lighting is great in that game. Like I can't complain about any part of that game.
Yeah.
Well, basically at all. Like, it just looks fantastic from start to finish. All the monsters are cool. All the environments are cool. Like, yeah, sure, you're just walking down sci-fi hallways, but, like, there's stuff on the wall and gore everywhere and you know, broken stuff, and you're seeing sparks, and the sparks are lighting up the environment, and it may not be ray traced, but they did such a good job making everything look as good as they could. It's such a high production. It's very fun. But as much as I loved it, I think I have to give it to Infinity just because of how insane that game looks. It's such a weird game.
Yeah. You really have to have some balls to go ahead and publish something like that.
Right. What about for you?
Yeah, that's right. I did not talk about my thing. Yeah, so I have all have three games to talk about. My first nominee is White Lavender. I did play this game between last episode and this one, and it's uh, Souls-like where you play as bugs, and it's a fairly easy Souls-like. I still died like 50 times in 3 hours, but still, it's relatively more easy than a normal Dark Souls game. And yeah, it just has like a weird watercolor effect that goes above everything. Everything looks bubbly and like kind of liquidy. So yeah, it looks super good. It really has a really strong art direction, and on top of everything, it's a really cool game. It's a really fun game, short Souls like, and it looks super good. Invisible presents Adam Eve that I brought to the show a couple episodes ago. This one really looks like a comic book, and that's why I decided to bring it to this category. The drawings, even during the RPG sections, because most of the game is just a visual novel, but even during the RPG sections, it has that comic book feel with a very dynamic angle and everything, and the presentation is super strong with that one. And finally, the case of the Golden Idol, which is story-driven logic puzzle game, and the game takes place in the 1700s, and it's pixel art, but it's kind of goofy and dark and kind of distorted pixel art. It really has, imagine like those old DOS King's Quest game, but kind of distorted with everyone has like really distorted faces and everything, and that would be my pick for the best art direction. It's kind of gross. It's really unique, and yeah, it kind of looks ugly, but it looks ugly with a purpose, and a bit like Infinity.
Right.
You really have to be really confident in your game to go in and publish something like that. And yeah, I found the look really impressive of having such a strong. It really creates a cohesive universe throughout the old story and all the puzzles. And we do have some, and yeah, that was my pick. I don't know if I said that clear enough. That's my pick.
I don't think
Okay,
you did.
yeah.
But
my pick is.
you went on about it long enough. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, that was the one. And we do have some also nominations from our friends. And once again, we'll start with Mr. Mo. His pick is Trek to Yomi. Yomi? I don't know. Yomi. While gameplay got a bit repetitive, the visuals were always stunning and gave the game this old school samurai movies feeling that makes it very unique. So yeah, nice pick.
Yeah, I think that's very fair for Trek to Yomi. It is a very striking game. So it feels like an old samurai movie for
cool.
sure.
I do not know that
Very
game,
cool.
so I'm gonna check a screenshot while you continue with our friends. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see why this game would get the pick. The screenshots look stunning.
Yeah. It looks fantastic. But I agree where he says it gets a little repetitive. Like it's 5 hours long and it feels like it's 10 hours long.
Okay, yeah.
It's a little... But it looks great. Vyar, he says Elden Ring, which probably not a surprise. Elden Ring looks... I mean, it's got art direction, and it looks really good. Like, every one of the areas within that game is very distinct, and this is me talking, not Vyar.
Yeah.
I concur. Like, it's a stunning-looking game, for sure.
Cool. And then we have Josh from IndieQuest. his pick is Neva. It's so stunning that it got a little of tears from me during my playthrough. And yeah, it looks super beautiful. It's kind of Journey, but in 2D with a lot of lighting and stunning colors.
Yeah. It's
beautiful game.
It's from the same team that made
Okay.
Grease. Or Grease? Grease? Gris. However you pronounce
Grise.
that. Gris?
I don't know. If it's French, it's Grise.
Okay. And yeah, this game looks fantastic. I completely understand. And Guido says Wrath of Aeon Ruin as his pick for best art direction.
Ooh. I don't know that game.
Which I am not familiar with.
That doesn't really surprises me from Guido. Okay, it looks a bit like Quake. I bet that's why you picked that game.
Yep. Looking at screenshots, this looks like Quake.
Looks like a modern Quake. But modern Quake, but with old school graphics. So yeah.
Yeah.
It does look.
All right, we get it. You like Quake.
All right. Our next category is best narrative. And I'm going to let you start once again.
Okay. So for best narrative, I picked Silent Hill: A Short Message, which is a short, free-to-play Silent Hill type experience made by Konami. Honestly, I don't know why they even released this game for free. Like, they could have released this game for $20 and it would have been great. But I think part of the reason they may have released it for free was just to be like, hey, we kind of understand what you want from Silent Hill, and that's a impactful narrative. And I felt like this narrative was impactful to me because of the subject matter that it tries to tackle. Like, it deals a lot with cyberbullying and suicide, and these feelings and emotions that people who grew up in the digital age specifically have to deal with. And I was in high school at the beginning of social media, so while this probably didn't hit as hard for me as it would for somebody who is 100% enthralled in the social media landscape, I can definitely see what they were going for, because I was there for Zynga and the beginnings of and being there on MySpace for years, and the beginning of Facebook and the beginning of Twitter, and dealing with the online social ramifications of everything that comes with that as a teenager. And it's a very teenager driven story that deals heavily with those themes. And it was it was tough. There's
yeah,
I mean, it's good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time dealing with the trauma of that game.
Speaking of trauma, was Bramble the Mountain King in your runner-ups, or it from what you're talking, it sounds like you kind of have a thing for those gross and heavy stories.
Oh, you know what? It probably should have been in my runners-up. I think it didn't end up in my runner-up place because I couldn't find a spot that I felt like it fit better than other games that I had played, because it deals with some really heavy topics also, but in a different way. Because with Bramble, it's like you're going through this experience with somebody else, whereas with Silent Hill, while you are playing as a character, it felt more like everything was happening to the player
more
rather
immersive
than to the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, for me, again, 3 nominations. The Last of Us. Don't have much to say about that. That's a great story, great moment. Once again, very heavy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of trauma in that one too.
Yeah, exactly. Inscription. That game was super fun, and especially in the second half of the game, the story was what I was most interested about. Like after 10 hours of playing the card game, I wanted to see where the story went more than I wanted to play the card game. And my third one is Lee Carvalho's Putting Challenge 2, which is a fan game based on a joke game in The Simpsons. And it's like a point and click about Lee Carvalho, and he's developing dementia. That's a spoiler, but yeah, whatever. It's a fan game from The Simpsons.
Right.
So like Lee Carvalho's is developing dementia, and you're playing kind of the same point and click 2 or 3 times over, but each instances he remembers less and less of what happened in his life, and it's kind of sad, and it was really surprising of finding that kind of story in a joke Simpson games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But my award of the best narrative goes to Inscription.
Oh.
Because for a couple reasons. First of all, The Last of Us, I watched the TV show before playing the game. So I already knew the story, most of it, and I was pretty surprised of there's not a lot of cutscenes and story in the Last of Us. In the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of cutscene at the beginning and the end. Mm-hmm. But in the middle of the game, the story is... It does progress, and it does come around, and the characters are really believable and everything, but it was less prominent that I thought it would be. And I didn't want to just give awards to like the best game, one of the best games of the last 15 years also. So, but yeah, the Inscription, I really liked where the game went in terms of story. There's kind of 2 stories in parallel. There's a story in the game and a story outside the game, and both were really interesting. And yeah, for me, it was as much of a story that it was a card game.
Cool. I'm very surprised it did not go to The Last of Us, but I understand your reasoning for not giving it to that game. So.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was really deserving. I was at one hair of giving it to The Last of Us.
Oh, that game's so good. I kind of want to play that game again. I might have to play that game again. It's fun. I mean, in a brutal kind of way, but it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Our next category is our best game that we don't remember playing.
You
shit, I'm sorry. Friends. Yeah, we completely skipped our friends. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, I can start. Mr. Mo, once again, his pick is Pyre. I don't usually play narrative-heavy games, but this one kept me reading and listening. Have you played Pyre?
I have not. I own it. And I had it downloaded on my PS5, and then my PS5 hard drive crashed. So I don't... Like, I could play it on my PS4, but I have not played it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a game he's beaten fairly recently. I think he sent a message to the boys. No, I heard him... Yeah, I heard his beat on Polykill. And I think he liked it even more than 80s or something like that. So
yeah, it's a super giant game. So
yep,
it's supposed to be really good. I'll get around to it eventually. Vyar says best narrative was Firewatch, which understandable. It's pretty good narrative.
Yeah. And for Josh, it's Final Fantasy 16. The story sticks with me, and I think about it a lot. So damn good. I'm probably the worst guy to read this nomination. I literally know anything about Final Fantasy, but I will believe what you say, Josh.
Yep, I know nothing about Final Fantasy 16 either. I have not played a Final Fantasy since 12, and that came out on the PS2. So,
Exactly.
and Guido says that his best narrative game was Xenosphere.
Yeah, I played that one this year, and I can see why he's given it to the best narrative award. To me, it fell a little bit flat in the end. Like the crux of the game, it was interesting, and at the end, it kind of just ends. So to me, that that's why I didn't bring it to my best narrative. I would have liked a bit more resolution to the story than just that game ending.
Okay, so now we can move on to the best game I don't remember playing.
Yeah.
Max, go ahead and take your 3 here.
Yeah. I do have 3 games that I bring, and they're all games that I've beaten around the same week. I went on a stretch of beating a bunch of Game Boy games on itch.io, and those 3 games are 3 platformers made by indie devs that are free on itch.io, and I, for the love of me, could not tell you anything about those games. The first game is Magic and Legend Time Nights. I remember that the game is a platformer and that they travel through time and through space, I believe. And at what point they are in London. And I use that for a place that I've already been in for the Polykill Bingo. So that's what I remember from the game. Other than that, I don't remember anything. The second one is Cherry Rescue, where you play as a cherry and you have to save your cherry girlfriend, I think. And that's pretty much all I remember. I could not tell you anything about the gameplay or anything. It's a Game Boy game and you play as a cherry. And finally, the last one is Delia, the Traveling Witch, that I also use for Polykill Bingo because it has a fishing minigame. Other than that, I think that one had like a Mario 3 style map that was kind of fun, and you had to find stuff on there. It's very blurry. I once again, I could not tell you much about those games. But my award will go to Delia, the Traveling Witch, because from what I remember, it had like the most substance. It had mini games, it had a map, and yeah, that's why. Other than that, I don't remember much of. It's all mushy. I all played those games at the same time, so yeah.
Yeah, understandable. So my game that I chose it's kind of for the same reason, in that I played a bunch of games kind of back to back in quick rapid fire succession, and so the game that I picked is a game called Gal Guardian's Demon Purge, which I remember seeing trailers for on the PlayStation Network and really, really wanting to play it, but it was like $25. And finally it went on sale for less than $10, and I was like, all right, this is the perfect time. Like 75% off or 80% off, something like that. Like, I didn't want to pay $25 for this game that looked like a kind of mediocre Metroidvania. Turns out this game is not a Metroidvania. It's a like Castlevania style game, like classic Castlevania style game. I had to watch gameplay footage to remember anything about this game. But you play as 2 characters simultaneously, and so like if one of your characters dies, like if you get killed in combat, you respawn at a spawn point as the other character, and you're able to go back and revive the other one. But it's like a Souls game where you have to fight all the enemies to get back to your spawn or to your death point. But both characters have different moves. Like one is ranged combat and one is melee combat. And then there's like traditional boss fights, but it's not a Metroidvania. It's a traditional Castlevania-like game, so it's level-based. And it looks really good, but that's all I can really tell you about it at this point. I think it was worth playing, but not for $25.
Yeah, exactly. You did good at buying this for cheap. But I don't know, if you bought it for $25, maybe you would remember it more because you would like feel obligated.
Maybe. I think I played it right after playing what's that game? Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. Which is very similar except good instead of mediocre.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of my friends came over to the house and saw me playing Gal Guardians and was like, "Oh, are you still playing that game where you can play as the like dog with a mech?" And I was like, "No, different game." And he's like, "Well, it looks like the same game because it's just modern pixel art game, Castlevania like."
Yeah, that's a whole subgenre now.
Anyway, our next subcategory here is the best platformer that we played. Max, I'm going to let you go ahead and go first again.
Alright, platformer is my jam. I love platformers, so I had a lot to choose for, and I have 3. Once again, I want to shout out Cavern of Dreams is a fantastic 3D platformer. It's a game that made me feel like a kid playing a Nintendo 64 game for the first time. Everything was kind of cryptic, and I didn't know like what the next power-up was going to be. So I never knew if I was supposed to be able to get the collectibles or if I was missing something. Like when I was a kid and I had no idea what the possible power-ups could be. So yeah, I love that game. I know that other people in our Discord played the game and really disliked it and found it super boring. But for me, it's a banger. It's so good. My second shout out is Celeste 64 and the B-sides made by Guido. Both together, it's a really good, once again, 3D platformer, kind of N64 style, short challenges, kind of tough, but also super rewarding, and the music is super fun. The art style is super cool. Fun little game. And finally, the last one is Frog Fall, which is a mix. It's kind of a Celeste-like 2D puzzle platformer. So you are in short rooms, and in those rooms you must grab all the flies with your frog, and once you start jumping you cannot go down on the floor. Never. So you have to jump and bounce on everything to grab all the flies. And if you die, you just restart the puzzle platformer level right away. So it's really a unique take on a puzzle platformer, and I was really surprised by how good that game was. And it's also made by the same dev that did the train puzzle game I brought a couple episodes ago. So super impressive guy. But my pick for the best platformer goes to Cavern of Dreams. I've never played a game that made me feel like a kid just like this game did. It's kind of a cheat because I did my list. I started playing that game in 2023. And when I did my list of best game of 2023 for my YouTube channel, I did pick Cavern of Dreams in my top 5. So I'm also bringing it to 2024, but to me this game really deserves more attention. It's
cool.
It's exactly like a modern N64 game.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. So for me, I'm bringing 2 games to best platformer. First is Castlevania, the original for NES. Like, this is a classic.
Oh, wow.
It's a game that inspired a genre. And you know what? I played it for the first time this year, and it's good. It's a pretty fucking good video game. It's hard. And I did use save states to finally beat it, but honestly, I don't know if I could beat it without save states. That last level is insane. So, like, I could get through the final boss without save states, but there's this whole room near the end of the game where there's all the armors coming at you from the left and all the Medusa heads that are coming at you at the same time, and it's just insane. It's the worst room in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other game that I wanted to shout out was Moonscars, which I talked about very early on in the podcast in one of our first couple of episodes. I think our second episode. And that was a really cool Metroidvania style game. And it was a lot of fun. And I'm going to have to give Best Platformer to Moonscars. Just because I think that game is a little underrated and doesn't really get talked about. And it's so cool. But I also, I don't play a whole lot of platformers, so I didn't have a lot of games to bring to this particular...
Okay, yeah, I see. But yeah, also, Castlevania doesn't really need another award.
No, I don't think it does.
in 2024.
Yeah, no, they'll be fine. They're doing okay. Konami,
yeah.
They may be making
fine.
pachinko machines for the most part, but they're kind of doing okay. The Castlevania anime is fantastic, by the way. If you've not watched it on Netflix, it's really good.
Yeah, I really liked it. I have a funny story about this show. When we wanted to watch the last season of that show, we did not have Netflix, so I tried to watch it on a pirate site, and the pirate site had the episodes in the wrong order. So we started the season with the last episode of that season, and we were so fucking clueless of what was happening because it's the first episode of the season. It could have started super intense, and there was sex and blood and killing and hey, oh my god, and actually it was the end of the season, so I did not actually watch the last season, but I liked the show. But yeah, I got spoiled trying to watch that last season.
Awesome. That's a great story. I love it. That sucks though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's a shame because we were really ready to spend that Halloween watching those episodes.
All right.
But we have another category, and we're shooting for the big guns. It's the best AAA game we've played this year, and we define the AAA game as a game released in the last 15 years. After 15 years, it goes into the retro category.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Because I play a lot of retro stuff and a lot of games that were released on the PS2 or very early PS3 could and should probably be considered AAA, but I don't think we would consider them quite as AAA as modern AAA games.
Yeah, totally agree.
I probably could have brought a couple other games from my many games that I played this year list, but best AAA game that I played this year, hands down, was Crysis. This game had a reputation of being basically impossible to play on the hardware at the time that it was released, and man, it's fucking fun. It's just fun. And it's not often that I sit down and I play a 10-hour game in a single day, and I did that with Crysis, and that's gotta say something about something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And did you play like the original or you played the remastered version?
No, I played the remastered version because that's what's available on Steam.
Okay, exactly. Oh, and so you played it recently on your new PC?
Yes.
Right?
It was the first game that I played on my brand new PC. So I played it mouse and keyboard the way that it was meant to be played.
So cool.
And it was, that game's insanely fun. Like, it has a reputation for a reason, and it is a good game. Despite its reputation of being, like, impossible to play. So.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so cool. On my end, I really don't play AAA games, and I did make an effort this year to play more AAA games, and that's more than 0. Because I think the last real AAA game I've played and beaten before this year was like Portal 2 when it released.
Okay.
So I have like a big gap of almost 12 years of not playing AAA games.
Right.
But this year I played in order Tomb Raider, the 2013 version. Fun game, fun adventure, really easy to get. I thought it was a fine introduction to like the modern AAA formula. Like it kind of, that generation of games was kind of the shifting point between the old 360 stuff, God of War style of action game, and the more narrative stuff. So yeah, super good entry point in the genre. Then I played The Last of Us, which is fucking amazing. And I wanted to play that game because I watched the TV show, and the TV show is also super good.
Yeah.
And finally, I just finished Fallout 4. And the same thing. I watched the TV show. I thought it was fine. Not really great, but still, I thought the universe of the Fallout series was fun. And I wanted to see where it came from. So, yeah. I just beaten Fallout 4. We may have to do a special episode at some point so we can digest Fallout. But yeah, I thought it was a fun game. And for my award, I will have to go with The Last of Us. That game, it was just as advertised. It was extremely good, extremely emotional, and I love like the difficulty progression in that game. Like in the first few encounters with zombies, I felt really clueless. It took me like an hour and a half trying to beat those zombies. And then by the end, you have like a flamethrower, a shotgun, and bow and everything. And you just go ahead and kill everything. And it's more about the story than it is about surviving at that point. And yeah, wonderful game, sad game, emotional game. Yeah, it's I can see why it's such a revered experience. So good, and I'm really excited to continue in the part 2.
It's well regarded for a very good reason.
Yeah,
and I very much. Yeah, we talked about it already a little bit, so we're not gonna go into that again.
Yeah, everybody knows.
Yeah, but we have some answers from some of our friends for this category as well. And Mr. Mo says The Last of Us 2 Remastered says it's a masterpiece, a milestone in gaming, most immersive and emotional game that I know. And yeah, I pretty much agree with all of that. Last of Us 2 is really good. So
I did check, and there are more cutscenes in The Last of Us Part 2 than there is watch time for the whole HBO series. So to me that's kind of crazy, but yeah, I'm all here for it. If it's just as good as the first one, I'm all there for it.
It might be better than the first one.
Exciting stuff. All right, and from our friend Vyar, without any surprises, Dark Souls Remastered. That guy has beaten the first Dark Souls, I think, 20 times by now. And yeah. I heard
Probably
it's a
more
good
than
game.
20 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game.
It's one of my objective for 2025. I want to start and beat that Dark Souls remastered.
Awesome. And then Josh, he says Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, one of the best gated exploration games that I've played, that combines elements from a lot of games in the genre but makes it its own. It's so good. I badly want to say Astrobot, but hard to compare to 10s out of 10s.
That's fair. I did not play that Prince of Persia game, but from everything I've seen, it looks like a fun Metroidvania. For sure. And finally, we have Widow, which, boo-hoo, he did not play any game from the last 15 years this year. I find that a bit strange. I don't know. I can see on his Blusky that he has more than 100 hours into Tetris 99. So I don't know. And I don't know. It feels like that maybe he's hiding
just
something.
Maybe. I don't know. Tetris 99 sounds pretty AAA to me. So.
Yeah, exactly. Widow. Yeah. Maybe that's something that you should work on.
Maybe
in 2025.
Maybe don't play Quake
Come on, man.
again, and try something new.
Stop living in the past. Widow. No, he plays modern stuff, but he plays indie games mostly. So yeah, I can understand.
But our next category is the best retro game that we played that is at least 15 years old. And I'll go ahead and throw out my game that I played that I think was the best game. And that's a game called Gungrave. Max, do you know anything about Gungrave? Okay.
No,
so Gungrave started as this PS2 game that came out in 2002, which is why I played it this year, but then I played the sequel this year also, which is called Gungrave Overdose. Gungrave is essentially about this guy who they call Grave, and he has guns, and he gets brought back to life and is told, go kill these people. And so that's what he does. This game is nothing but you, as Grave, walking down hallways, killing hordes upon hordes of bad guys, and then eventually you get to a boss and you defeat the boss. This game is 3 hours long. And it's so much fun. Like, it's non-stop action from start to finish. It's insane. It's anime as fuck. It's so fucking cool. Like, this game is 100% what I love about playing specifically PS2 games. It's just weird.
Cool.
And it's fun.
Yeah. Have you played the third one? I'm seeing that there's a
no,
one
I've not
like
played
2
it
years
yet.
ago.
Our friend Bad Times just gave me a Steam code for it today, so I will be playing it very, very soon.
Nice. Can't wait to hear about it.
On
my end, I have What did you
the
want
only
to
thing
say?
I wanted to say is that, like, I heard a lot of complaints about the new one, Gungrave Gore, when it came out, and all of the complaints were basically that it played like a PS2 game, and I was just sitting over here like, and that's a fucking problem? Like, that's what I want. Like, it's Gungrave. Like, just give me more of that, and I'm fine.
People get exactly what they want, and
I know.
Suddenly it's not good. All right, on my end, I have three pretty exciting retro games. Some of them I think you maybe never heard of. The first one is Automatic. It's a game that was released in 2001, 2002. I'm not sure. I think it's not 2002 because I would have used that for the bingo. But yeah, it's a 3D platformer where you play as a robot and you're trying to save people from aliens, and it's weird, it's janky, and the most surprising thing is that it's still available on iPhone in 2024. So I did manage to buy the same game that I used to play on my old iMac, but now on my iPhone. So that was pretty wild that the company just continued to update their old ass game for modern platforms. And
yeah, that's great.
I think that's cool. The second one is Trog, which is a Pac-Man kind of clone with dinosaurs for the NES, and it's super fun. It's a really fun Pac-Man clone. You have to avoid dinosaurs and you get power-ups to kill dinosaurs. And there are also like a mechanic where if you don't get it in a level and you find all the eggs, you leave a specific egg in the screen, you will get warped like a couple levels you will skip like 3 or 4 levels. So if you manage to be good at the game gets easier to beat because you have less levels to play. And finally, NHL 99, we had to play a sports season for the Polykill Bingo, and I decided to go back to NHL 99. It's had been a real long time since I went to like the N64 era of sports game, and man, that was a nostalgic trip. Every sound effect in that game, the announcer, the color of the teams, the gameplay, such a good hockey version. I usually go back to the SNES NHL games, but yeah, it was a good call going back to the N64. I was really nostalgic for that era.
Yeah, I usually go back to NHL 96 personally. That's like the one that I usually play.
Yeah, same. 96 is my also my go-to. It's so good, and it's the last game where the Nordics were there, so a bit sentimental for me.
Yeah, the Whalers were still there.
And yeah, oh yeah, the way I saw this year that the Whalers had one match in their history against the Phoenix Coyotes, which is something I didn't realize they were in the league at the same time, and they actually had a match together. Like they had exactly one match. Know that. Yeah.
I bet SNES Drunk knew that, but
yeah, we'll ask. I will go back to that. But yeah, my pick for the best retro game will actually go to NHL 99. I did not realize how much I was missing that game, and yeah, a really good time. I did play that a lot in the plane when I went to Polycon, and yeah, it's a super fun hockey game.
Awesome. Yeah, I might have to go back and play like 99, 2000, or 2001 just because I don't think I've played any of the NHL games for the 64 anytime recently. Although our friend Sir Chadley, he has been recommending to me to go and play Wayne Gretzky's hockey on the 64 because that one's supposed to be kind of like like NBA Jam, but for hockey.
Yeah,
and that sounds like a good time. So,
well, if you want NBA Jam for hockey, you should go with NHL Hits on. I don't know if it's only on GameCube, but
that's a good call too.
NHL Hits is super fun. It was on Xbox. Okay, so the NHL Hits 2002 was GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2, and 2003 I bet they were Yeah, so it's on everything. So you could play those NHL Hits game on your PS2.
I might look into that because so like on the soccer side of thing, there was FIFA Street back in the day, and those games are kind of rough to play because they're all about like doing combos instead of actually playing the game, kind of arcadey like, which I don't really care for as much. So I know it's a completely fucking separate sport, but it made me think about me trying to go back and play FIFA Street. So
yeah, I understand.
Anyway, best retro game. We had a few of our friends also write in about this one. Mr. Mo says that The Adventures of Lolo. He had never heard of it before, and only played it for the Polykill Bingo Challenge, but he was surprised by the smart puzzles and mechanics and a game that still holds up. Lolo was on the NES, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a grid-based puzzle game. It's a good game. It's a fun time.
Yeah, that's one I've never played.
Great pick.
Was it?
Well, it does go on for a bit long, but the core game is cool. Super fun. Vyar goes with Sly Cooper and the Devious Raccoonus, which is a big hole in my 3D platforming catalog. Yeah. I've only heard good things about this game, but yeah, I did not manage to find the time to play that game.
It's pretty good.
Yet.
It's no Pac-Man World, but it's pretty good.
Pac-Man World, the first?
First or the second one. I like both of those games quite a bit. I like them better than Sly Cooper, which a lot of people have given me a hard time about, and I'm going to stick by that train of thought that I think the Pac-Man World games are better than Sly Cooper. So like in the pantheon of PS2 era, mascot platformers, and we're only talking about PS2, so we're excluding Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot for a moment here because they're probably above. But we got Ratchet and Clank, and then we got Jak and Daxter, and then we got Pac-Man World, and then Sly Cooper.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So in the there it's at the bottom of the PlayStation.
Well, no, because it's still above like Ty the Tasmanian Tiger and Tak and the Power of Juju.
It's at the bottom of the good ones.
Well, those,
it's at the bottom of the top tier.
Ty's not bad. Tak isn't bad. Like those are fine games.
No. Yeah, they're fine. They're just not top tiers. Let's say.
All right. So Josh says that Burnout 3 was his favorite retro game. So fun to boot up and crash around in a few races. Great early 2000s soundtrack too, and I will agree. Burnout 3 is quite spectacular. It gets really hard in the last couple of races though. Like you basically cannot wreck in the last couple of races, which is hard to do in a Burnout game. Otherwise, you're going to lose. But other than that, it's great. It's a pretty good game.
And finally, Guido goes with Land of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse on the Sega Game Gear. And yeah, I can see that whole franchise at that point was just great platforming. It's just fun games, just enough challenge. Yeah, great pick, Guido.
Yeah, Castle of Illusion is pretty good too, even on the Master System. So.
Yeah, I did when I was collecting games back in like 2010. I actually managed to buy a Master System with Mickey Mouse Castle of Illusion for like $20 or something. Nice. Yeah, and I didn't even know that game was like one of the better platformers of the system. I just picked it kind of randomly in the 4 or 5 games they had. So,
that might just be one
of my best finds.
It might be one of the better games on the system in general. Yeah. The Master System kind of has a lot of trash. So, it's good stuff. But our next category is the best game that we meant to play sooner. Max, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I will go ahead. So my first game is once again Automatic, because I said that I used to play that game on my old iMac G3 when I was a kid, but we only had the demo for the game because it came pre-installed on the system. But I think the only way we could have bought the game was through the websites, and that wasn't it wasn't at a time where buying stuff from the internet was normal, especially in Canada. So, yeah. So I actually never had played the full game in my life, and I was super excited to actually play that game when I bought it for my iPhone. After that, Patrick's Parabox, you know it. I'm a huge guy. I am a huge guy. I'm a huge fan of grid-based puzzle games, and Patrick's Parabox just looked like an amazing game. With its main mechanic is that you push blocks and you can go into blocks, and you can push blocks into blocks into blocks into blocks and create recursive situations. Great puzzle game, a bit too easy for my taste, but still a great time. And finally, What the Golf. It's a game that I heard a lot of great things about throughout the years, and I finally downloaded it for my iPhone. Once again, my Apple Arcade subscription going in strong. That's how I managed to play What the Golf, and I had a great time throughout. But my award goes to Automatic. The game is janky. It's maybe not the best game out there, but the relation I had with that, I'm just super glad that I finally took the time to beat that game. It's really the game one of the game I've wanted to beat for so long that, yeah. I'm just happy I managed to track it down and could play it on a modern system.
Right. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Love it. For me, I chose Fallout 4 as the best game that I meant to play sooner. I can talk a lot of shit on Fallout 4. I have a lot of problems with this game and how it deals with the lore of the Fallout universe. But I'm not going to go on a tirade here because I want to celebrate what Fallout 4 is good at. And Fallout 4 is really, really fun and a good shooter RPG. And I meant to play it sooner because I am a fan of Bethesda's games. Like, I really love Skyrim. I really love Oblivion. I really love Fallout New Vegas. Like, these are some of my favorite games that I've ever played. Like, Oblivion is... Oh, God. I probably put 300 hours into Oblivion easily. Like, that game's so great. And Fallout New Vegas, I played that on PS3 where the game crashes about once an hour because the PS3's architecture just can't handle, like, the memory load of what Fallout is trying to do. So... But I still put like 80 hours into that game, despite that. And Fallout 4 is a lot of fun as a game where you're in a Fallout world. It just doesn't have the character impact that I want from a Fallout game. And like, man, I have so many problems with this game, but it is just fucking fun to play. So
yeah,
it definitely deserves the slot of game that I meant to play sooner because I should have played it sooner than this year, but I played it for the first time this year. So
yeah,
it's fun.
We somehow played it in the same year.
Yeah, it's a good
great
game.
pick, man. Great pick. Yeah. I had a lot of fun going through it, and I don't even play shooters in at all. So. They must be doing something good.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that Fallout 5 eventually comes out and is actually good. I hope it's better than 4.
Closer to a classic.
Yeah.
hardcore RPG experience.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the best game in a genre that we do not typically play.
Yeah, I can also go ahead once again. White Lavender is a game I played in the past few weeks. I talked about it earlier. Souls-like. I never played Souls-like, especially not in 3D, and it was super fun. Somebody Amigo Party to Go. I had never played the Somebody Amigo game, and I haven't played many rhythm-based games still since like my Guitar Hero era back in the day. And yeah, it was on my phone. Super fun, really good rhythm game. And finally, Vampire Survivors. It kind of spawned its own genre, and I finally tried it, and it's just as good as everyone hyped it up. It's just a fun game. But I decided to go with Somebody Amigo Party to Go because in the last like 10 years or so, every kind of rhythm game I tried, I sucked ass at it. I tried you know that dungeon crawler that you do on a rhythm developer
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're the ones who made Cadence of Hyrule.
Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yeah, Crypt of the Necrodancer. I played that game, I think, for an hour, and I couldn't get anywhere. Like, just having to follow the timing was impossible. I didn't
really get into that one either, so
yeah,
I get it.
My brother made me try Melatonin, and it's a classic rhythm game, but like with events. I almost broke my glass. But
don't do that.
There's a lot of shit going around, and you have to time your button presses to the beat of the music, and I just couldn't do it. But Somebody Amigo Party to Go, I actually managed to beat some pretty fucking hard tracks and did the whole adventure mode. So it gets my vote for my best game in the genre. I don't typically play, especially because it made me good at that genre where I actually am pretty bad at it.
Cool. So for me, I talked about one of these games, which obviously is not going to be my pick in the honorable mentions, and that is South Park and the Stick of Truth. And that's just because I don't play a whole lot of JRPGs. It's not the genre that I care for, but South Park was a lot of fun, so I figured it was worth it to mention it here. And I think I put it here before I put it in the honorable mentions. But the best game for a genre I don't typically play, I would say, is Surviving Mars, which I haven't talked about on the podcast yet. And I also was going to talk about it on the Classic Gaming podcast when we were over there, but we started to go long, and I also realized that, like, it would take me 30 minutes to talk about everything that I would want to talk about in this game. This game is essentially a city builder survival game, but set on Mars. So it's kind of like a mix between an RTS, like Age of Empires, while also being kind of SimCity. That's the best way I can describe it. Without going into excruciating detail about like the specific mechanics of this game. This game is so much fun that when I'm playing it in my living room, my TV in my living room has a shut-off timer set on it for 4 hours. So like if you don't press any buttons on the remote in 4 hours, it'll automatically shut itself off or put itself on a timer to shut itself off. If I turn on this game, I'm playing it until that timer comes on, and then I'm like, how the fuck did 4 hours just pass?
Wow.
It's insanely fun for me, and I just get sucked into it so bad, and the current like civilization that I'm trying to I was trying to like win the game with, because there are actual beat conditions for each scenario. I'm at a place where I think my civilization is going to die, but I'm in like the death throes of it, and it won't actually die for like another 7 hours, and it's made me. It's stressful. Like, this game is stressful, but it's insanely fun, and it's the kind of game where, like, there's always something happening, so it's hard to find a place for me to want to stop, because, like, I'll have something going on, and then that situation gets resolved, and then something else comes up, and it's like, it's genuinely really, really hard to find a place to stop playing this game. I love it. I'll talk about it more at a later point in time.
Cool.
It's fucking amazing, though. I love this game.
All right, another category. Best game we tryhard at. So once again, I have 3 games. My first one is Rule Taboul. It's a game from a defunct TV station here in Quebec. And it's a mix between Monkey Ball and a bowling game. So it's a bowling game, and you run through Monkey Ball levels, and you have to hit all the 10 pins. And just like in real bowling, you get 2 attempts per lane. So if you fall off the stage, well, you get a second try to complete the spare. And I actually managed to do a perfect game in that game. So I did that 300. It took me a while. At first, I actually hacked the game to give me more time, because that last level was insane. But I actually managed to do it legit while I was recording footage for my video. So yeah, I went really hard, and I'm probably the only one who ever went hard at that game.
Cool.
The second game is Ball It Hell, which is an arcade game that Captain Drachma brought to IndieQuest, where you're a circle hitting other circles, and the game is just fucking fun. You use your mouse, and you have to kind of aim where you will hit your circles to hit more circles and keep your combo going. Super intense, and I sadly couldn't reach the score that Drachma had. So one day maybe I will try to get it back, but for now I'm sadly in second place in my friends list. And finally, Monkey Bash is the game I brought from the Mega Touch arcade, where we managed to beat the high score from 2021 with my brother. So just a hype moment. But at the same time, the game is just hitting the screen over and over. So we tried hard, but at the same time, it's all random. But in the end, my award will go to Rule Taboul, because, well, I'm like the only person in history to have done. There's no evidence of anyone else having done this perfect game in this random bowling game. So maybe it's an historic moment in mankind history. So yeah, Rule Taboul.
Cool.
Yeah. My flex.
A game nobody's ever heard of before.
Exactly. My flex for a game nobody cares about.
Right. So for me, game that I tried hard at, this one was a hard category for me to put a game into, but I ended up choosing Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, which is a rhythm game where you play Final Fantasy music. And there's kind of like a RPG mechanic that's built into it also. The reason I chose it for this category specifically was because I could have considered this game beaten without playing more of it, and but I just couldn't stop playing it, because it's just fun. Like, it's just a fun rhythm game, and Final Fantasy music is so good.
Yeah.
So,
great pick.
Yeah, it's just a cool game.
And that one is on which console?
I played it on PS4. Okay. I think it's PS4, Xbox, Switch,
cool.
Steam. I think it's on all the things. Let's double check real quick.
Because in my head, that Theater Rhythm series was handheld series, but
so it's just PS4 and
Okay.
Switch. So
cool.
not Xbox or Steam. So sorry guys if you only have Xbox, but Square Enix doesn't like you.
All right.
Next category.
So that means yeah, exactly.
Best game that was released in 2024. I don't know about you, Max, but I did not play very many games that released in 2024.
I did actually play quite a bit of games that released in 2024, but no major one. I mean, the most popular 2024 game I've played this year is Balatro, and to me that game is not good. So, so yeah, I don't have great taste in gaming. It looks like.
I don't think that's true. What games would you like to talk about for our best games for 2024, though?
So for my best games of 2024, I bring UFO 50. That game is quite something. Spoiler alert, I won't choose this game for my best 2024 game just because I've only played like 5 of the 50 games. So it doesn't feel right to give an award to a game I've only managed to do like 10% of. My second game is actually a collection of games. I kind of cheating, but it's the Empoli Toppers. I called it's the grid-based puzzle game from the dev of Baba Is You. So he released like 25 different little puzzle games throughout the year, and they all use the same art style, so they could all be in the same game, and they're just different worlds or levels, and each game has a fun twist. Like in one game you're playing an RPG turn grid-based puzzle game, and you have to beat all the different enemies in the right order to reach the end. In one other game you will control different characters at the same time, but they can only walk on a different color of tiles. On one other one, the game is just around a circle, and it's all distorted and it's all weird. So each game has a fun twist. Sometimes it's super crazy, sometimes it's just a clever twist on the grid-based puzzle game. But I beaten all of them. I love those games, and those were super fun. And being from the dev that made Baba Is You, that's not surprising. And finally, I just talked about it, Bolitel, that time that we were like 4 or 5 in the Discord trying to beat each other's scores was super fun. And yeah, it's just a super great arcade game. But in the end, I will give my award to the Empoli Toppers. That collection of puzzle games is exactly the kind of game I like. They're short, they're clever, they're just a great time all around. I love those. I just love those puzzle games, man. And being able to play like 25 different games from that dev during the year, that was something special.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. I've not played Baba Is You. I probably should. Like that's definitely a big miss in my repertoire of games.
That game is tough, man. It gets so hard. Yeah, I love Baba Is You, but there's a point where some puzzles you have to do. You have to think like 40 steps in advance to actually make the puzzle work. So those kind of puzzles, I think it goes. Some of the puzzles are way too much, but they're mostly side puzzles. But still, some of those puzzles, some of those levels are a bit too much for me. But the game is still so good.
Okay. So for me, I only played 3 games that released in 2024 this year. I can mention all 3 of them real quick. The first one is a game called Blast Frenzy, which is a like Zuma's Revenge clone, if you're familiar with that game.
Yeah.
Except this one is broken and doesn't work in the later levels because it
oh no.
Costs 99 cents, and they put it out as like a trophy game where you're gonna play the first 10 levels normally and not actually play into the later levels of the game. Like, the balls go off the track completely in the later levels. Like, it's fucking insane.
What?
It's bad, but it was 99 cents. And then I played what, god damn it, what the hell is the name of that game? Yeah. I talked about it earlier. Best narrative, Silent Hill, A Short Message.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that released earlier this year, and was, good for what it was, but it's like a 3-hour long game. And then I played Stellar Blade, which released very early this year and was one of my more anticipated games of the year, and was... It lived up to my expectations. It was a very fun, kind of Souls-like action, hack and slash RPG. It's pretty fucking good. And that's my choice for best 2024 game.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Even if it kind of fell into the default spot after those two others. One was broken and the other was kind of short. Right?
Yeah. So the other option, well, there were two other options that like should have been on this list, and they were Astrobot and the Silent Hill 2 remake, but my PlayStation 5 hard drive failed right before like both of those games came out, so I was not able to play either of those, because those were the other two games I was looking forward to playing this year that released this year. And, like, I could have played Silent Hill on the new PC, but I would rather just play it on the PlayStation, because, I mean, why not? I like the PlayStation.
Well, you actually played also the DLC from Elden Ring. Didn't that release this year?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't count. It's not a full game.
Okay, that's fine. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take that, Game Awards.
Bang bang. We have the truth. All right, next category, best game we replayed again this year, and I will have again 3 nominations. My first nomination is the old Donkey Kong Country trilogy for the Super Nintendo. Those are my favorite games. Always a good time, and
I wonder what's gonna win.
I think I'm. Yeah, exactly. My second nomination is Banana Kong Blast. Again, Donkey Kong Country clone, but only like the barrel levels. It's a super fun game. Kind of short, but still a fun time. And finally, Jamestown, which is my favorite shmup. And we played it at Polycon, and it was super tense. It could have been in my most rewarding beat. We grinded that game for like an hour in the last level, and we managed to beat it by a hair. That was super hype, and I love that game. But I will give my award to the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and I didn't want to just give the award to my favorite games ever, but this year I played the third game for the first time at 105%. So that was with the toughest cheat code, and that means you don't get any checkpoints in the level, and you don't get barrels for tagging another Kong. So you start every level with your two Kongs, and you have to beat the whole level with that. And if you die, you restart at the beginning of the level. And actually found the game super fun like that, because the levels are fairly short. And every level you actually start with your 2 Kongs, so you don't have situations where you're missing a monkey at the beginning of the level to get some of the different secrets. So, and knowing those levels like the back of my hand did help. But yeah, I thought it was a super fair challenge and a fun way to revisit one of my favorite games. And yeah, and that's why it tipped the balance. It wasn't just a replay. I actually had a new experience with those games.
Hell yeah. I replayed some of my favorite games that I've ever played also this year, and I decided not to bring them, and
yeah,
mostly because like I replay Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut basically every year, and have basically every year since like 2004 when I first played that game, and I thought it would be a like boring and mundane answer for me to just be like, oh yeah, my favorite game that I played again this year is also my favorite game of all time, Resident Evil 1.
Exactly.
But I also replayed Resident Evil 2 and Silent Hill and Silent Hill 2, which are all like basically within they're within the same genre. They all play very much the same. Like, so I didn't want to be obvious and bring any one of those games. So I decided I wanted to shout out Grand Theft Auto Vice City as my favorite game I replayed this year, because, man, that game's fucking cool. Like, Vice City's just such a fucking vibe, and the PS2 era Grand Theft Auto games are so influential on games even today. But they're not the kind of games that I would go back and replay constantly, because they're kind of janky and they've got issues. And like some of the missions are kind of a pain in the ass, but they're like, Vice City is just a vibe, man. Like the 80s, cocaine fueled synth wave everything of Miami in the 80s. It's just a vibe, and it's a really, really fun game. So it was a lot of fun to actually go back and revisit that one, because I hadn't played that game since probably, I don't know, sometime I was in high school. So between 2005 and 2008 was the last time I played Vice City, and going back and playing it again, man, it's still just fun. Just stealing cars and killing cops and everything you do in a Grand Theft Auto game. They're just good fucking games. Rockstar knocks it out of the park. So
every time,
looking forward to 6. That'll be a great time, I'm sure.
I'm not super familiar with actually playing. Like, I know about those games, but I haven't put any decent amount of time in any GTA ever. So that's another hole in my gaming catalog. But like, I know about them. It's not like I'm not familiar with GTA.
I wonder what would be like the best one to approach as a modern player. Like, probably 5, honestly, or the new one, 6, when it comes out, would probably be like the most approachable game, because the PS2 ones they're a little rough around the edges from a modern standpoint. But they also, like, the Grand Theft Auto 3 came out in 2001. Like, that game was so ahead of its time in so many ways. So, but yeah, Vice City's cool. That's a good damn video game.
I take your word for it, and I'm sure they are. There are a bunch of old school GTA on the phone. I could just pick one and see what happens.
Which ones are available on the phone?
I have San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, and those are the 2, I think. And Chinatown Wars.
If you're gonna pick one of those, play San Andreas.
Yeah. Well, I have it with Netflix, so I might as well just... Oh, and Vice City is also on the phone.
San Andreas is a lot more polished than Vice City is.
Okay.
So it's of that generation, that's definitely the most approachable one. And then Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories were originally made for the PSP.
Okay, yeah.
So they're a little rough. And their PS2 ports are fine, but yeah, you don't have. I don't think they even added dual analog stick control into
Okay. So yeah,
PS2 ports of those games.
really another era of gaming.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, San Andreas is definitely the most approachable. It's a long game. I mean, like that's a 40-hour game.
Okay.
But it's worth it.
Cool. I might use that as a time sinker.
Cool.
And speaking of 80s music, we all now have the best music category. Once again, 3 games for me. The first game is Frogger and the Rumbling Ruins, and it's on the list because it's a Konami game where you actually collect Konami songs and you build your own library of music from the Konami repertoire, and you just pick and choose whichever song that you like, and the ones that you don't like, you can just deactivate them and turn them off. So you build your own perfect playlist of Konami bangers, and that's perfect for playing a puzzle game, because those songs, even though they're upbeat and everything, they're just songs that you've heard so many times that you can zone out and focus on the puzzle while you listen to great tunes. Vampire Survivors, the game is super chaotic, but at the same time the music is just banger after banger, great Castlevania style music in the background. And finally, Katana Zero, was really impressed with the selection of songs, and they're just upbeat, like steampunk music. It's cool. It's great stuff. But for having a great collection of some of the best songs in gaming history, I have to give my award to Frogger and the Rumbling Ruins. It's kind of a cheat because it's not all original music, but I vibed so hard while playing that game. So yeah, I have to give it the award.
I mean, it's hard to argue with classic Konami music. So, good stuff.
Yeah.
For me, best music in a game that I've played this year, I only have one game. It's Windbound, which is a game that I had talked about with you and our friend Guido on In the Quest, the parody podcast that we had done a while back. And Windbound is essentially a game it's a mix of like a survival crafting game with Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker.
The Wind Waker.
You're sailing on a boat and doing survival crafting stuff and trying to get through levels. Man, it's just a really, really cool game. I really like it. And the music is just entrancing. Like, I don't normally go back to video game music very often, and this is a soundtrack that I've just found myself continuously going back to.
So cool.
It's a great soundtrack for a beautiful fucking game that nobody's played, apparently. So
it's a sad thing, but you're here to share the great news of the Windbound game and music.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know what their sales look like or anything. So, I mean, maybe they've sold a shitload and are actually doing just fine. But who knows?
Good. We're almost done. We have 3 categories to close out this podcast, and those are some of the most representative of our podcast categories out there. So we're transitioning into the best trash game of 2020. we've played in 2024?
I'll go ahead and
To me,
and take
yeah,
the
go
first
ahead.
one.
Take the
Best
wheel.
trash game I played in 2024. Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy. This game's not very good,
Yeah.
but it's also kind of good.
No. I mean, if it had unlimited continues, even just between the stages, I would be with you. But like, if you're supposed to just play the game from start to finish on 3 continues, that game is rough.
Yeah.
It gets really boring really quick.
I mean, it definitely
But
kind
for
of
one
gets boring,
playthrough,
and the lack of music is odd.
yeah. But for one playthrough with save states, yeah, that's a great trash game.
It's pretty trash, but it's pretty fine for some trash.
Yeah, exactly. There's some fun to be had. For my trash games, I have 3 games. My first and 2 games I brought to the podcast already. So my first one is Superstar Hero. I've beaten this game early in the year, and that game is mental. So it takes place in like 50,000 something in the future in Quebec City, and there's a war between robots and aliens, and you're playing as a robot who's trying to save the humans. It's crazy shit, and the gameplay is like classic dungeon crawler gameplay where you have to bump into the enemies to deal damage to them, but at the same time it's done RPG Maker and everything moves super quick. It's super janky, it's super dumb. The music is like heavy metal 8-bit music. It's wild, man. It's barely playable. And oh man, there's flashing colors everywhere, just neon stuff flashing all the time. I think I'm the only one who've ever beaten this game ever. Like, that last boss is just 5 minutes of dodging stuff left and right and trying to win them down a huge bullet sponge. What a trash game. And actually, the guy who made that game is actually friend with one of my friends, and I discovered that after beating the game. So yeah,
Awesome.
Weird ass game. Second game is the Ice Age platformer that I talked about on the podcast. Super janky, not very good, but I kind of had fun. And finally, Yoda Stories that we talked about last episode and we talked about on the Classic Gaming podcast. It's not good. Everything's broken in that game, but at the same time, it's kind of relaxing. But I only can give my award to one game, and I will give it to Superstar Hero for being crazy mental, impossible to play at all points, and being like the only one who've ever beaten the game.
Nice.
It deserves the award in my book.
For this category, we did reach out to our friends again for this one, and Mr. Mo says that Rental was his favorite trash game. Super trashy looking, super short, super nonsensical, wannabe horror game, but still the best trash game he played. Nice. I've not heard of this, Mr.
Sounds
Mo.
interesting. Yeah, me neither. For Fire, his pick is Vampire Survivors, and I can understand what it means since it can be just a flashy game. At some points, if you know the builds, you can just... It's just a time waster. It's just fun because you're building huge combos and there's a billion stuff in the... There's not a lot of gameplay in the end.
Right.
But at the same time, to me, it wouldn't really go in the trash tier. It's well designed in a way. So
Yeah.
I see what he means, but to me, it wouldn't fit the trash definition. But I see where he's coming from.
Josh says, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't think I played a trash game. I failed you. Let's say Minecraft for the lulz.
Yeah, Minecraft. Classic trash game.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Guido with Fox Hunt Arena on Atari 2600. And I don't know this one specifically, but
I don't either.
any 2600 game in my book deserves to be in the trash tier.
Yeah, I would say 95% of them deserve to be in the trash tier. So there's a few that are fine.
Yeah, there's a couple fine games, but that checks out.
All right, our next category is our best janky game. And this one was actually kind of hard for me, Max, to determine what I felt like was actually janky enough to be considered the best janky game.
Yeah.
But I did come up with one, and it's a game called Gas Station Simulator.
Okay.
And man, this game is actually really, really cool. So essentially the premise of this game is that, like, your uncle has loaned you some money and you buy a gas station in the middle of nowhere on this highway, and you have to, like, go and clean it up and then make the gas station a profitable business. But he wants his money back, so you have to be profitable. And it's janky because, like, you basically have to do everything. So, like, you open the gas station, and first you're only able to sell gas. And so, like, you're waiting for cars to come up to your gas station, and you're pumping gas. And so, like, to pump gas, you have to, point. It's in a first-person view, so you have to point and click at the gas pump, put the gas pump into their car, and to start the gas, and then pull the gas pump back out of their car and put it back on the thing. And then, like, you eventually get like a convenience store inside the gas station, and you have to check people out in the convenience store, which means you have to go behind the register, and they'll come up to the register, and then you'll go into this mini game where you have to pick up all the items off a conveyor belt and scan them and then put them into a basket. And if you fail to scan any of the items, they get them for free, meaning that you're essentially letting them steal from you. And, like, it gets crazier and crazier with the amount of things that you have to manage at the same time. Like, you end up having a car wash, and you have a mechanic shop, and you can hire employees, but you can't work your employees for 24 hours a day because that's cruel and they need time off. But you can pay them more money to work extra shifts also. But is it worth paying extra money to make them work those extra shifts? But this game is janky because, like, there'll be, like, you can, like, jump on top of a car and use your broom that you're supposed to use to like, clean up the floors, and you'll go flying into the air on top of the car because of it. Or, like, you have a warehouse where you're supposed to keep all of your product, and you have to keep the doors closed, otherwise people can get into the warehouse and steal product from you. But if you close the door, like, as the delivery truck is trying to leave, it'll, like, close on the back of the delivery truck and like, basically break the geometry and go all crazy and wonky. And man, it's so weird. I love this game. It's so much fun.
It's kind of janky by design at that point.
Yeah, it's a little janky by design, for sure. But it's so much fun. I love a game like this, where it's kind of frantic and you just have to be doing something all the time.
Sounds like a good time. On my end, once again, 3 games. First game is Travis. Game is wild. You're trying to work for a circus to get out of debt, and the game is just, you're a juggler, so the game is like a phone game, and you have to click on balls that are falling, and every time that you manage to hit one of the balls, you will start juggling, and that gives you money. But at the same time, you have to deal with the calendar, and you have to, at the same time, call people for their birthdays while you're juggling, and also call the utilities company to pay your bills, and all the same time you have to juggle. And at the end, it's kind of a meta commentary about having too much stuff to do in life and being unfocused and everything. But yeah, the main mechanic is just extremely janky, where you're clicking on bunch of stuff and it's kind of impossible to do. So yeah, that was a janky game. Jelly Wave, I talked about it in the last episode. Extremely janky, maybe the jankiest 3D platformer, but at the same time I managed to beat the game, so how janky can it really gets. And Superstar Hero, once again, you have no idea how janky that game is. It's kind of unbelievable. But I will go ahead and give my award to Jelly Wave, because I actually managed to get a hold of the controls and beat the game. So
Nice.
like, I think it was unintentionally janky, but I can see that the dev was actually good at his game, because I eventually got good enough to also beat the game. So it's janky, but there's a way to counter the jank, and getting through that jank was a fun experience.
Cool. So our friends gave us some answers for this one also. Mr. Mo says Under the Waves. Sometimes it has very janky controls that drove me insane for short occasions, but also the game with the most interesting and special decision to make at the end, which has me interested very much so.
Vyar selected Jumping Flash, which is a 3D game, 3D platformer from the PS1, and every time you jump, like, the camera swivels around to show where you're gonna land under your feet. And yeah, that's a pretty janky 3D platformer too. I can see why it got the award.
So, fun fact about Jumping Flash is that the mod who moderates the Ghost in the Shell speedrunning for me, he is also the mod and one of the best Jumping Flash speedrunners in the world. His name is Joester.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yep. He also speedruns the Pac-Man World games.
Nice.
Also kind of a small world, but... Josh says Bokura. This co-op game was a lot of fun to play together, but had some technical hiccups that would make me call it jank. Makes sense.
Fair.
Some technical hiccups are kind of the definition of jank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of.
And for Widow, the game, he picked is Greener Grass Awaits, which seems to be a first-person horror game, like there's a billion of on itch.io. So I'm not sure what was janky in that game. It did not tell us, but it looks like not a low effort, but a low budget indie game. So I could see.
Does it look like Quake?
No, it doesn't look like. But at the same time, it has a low polygon aesthetic from like the 90s, so kind of Quake-ish, being a first person too.
Okay. All right. Our final and most prestigious award, the best indie game that we played this year. Max, why don't you go ahead?
All right, I will go ahead. I've talked about all those games throughout the podcast so far. The Empuli Toppers, so the puzzle games from the Baba Is You dev, Cavern of Dreams, and Katana Zero. And for my best indie game, I will go with Katana Zero. It's just an amazing game. It's one of the rare game where I feel like this will now make the list of my favorite games of all time. It actually compelled me to beat it 3 times in the span of a couple of weeks. So for being an amazing game that took me by surprise, Katana Zero totally deserves this award.
Excellent. So for me, best indie, I wanted to give this award to a game that I didn't feel like I already put into another category
Mm-hmm.
because I think some of my other favorite indie games I've already put into other categories, and those would include Gas Station Simulator that I just talked about, Windbound, which I talked about just a minute ago. Surviving Mars is also pretty indie and really, really fun. But the game that I decided to go ahead and give to the best indie game, which is still one of my favorites that I played all year, is a game called The Night Witch.
Okay.
Which is it's a 2D Metroidvania bullet hell.
Ooh.
Where it's also a twin stick shooter. So like you're flying around through Metroidvania style levels and doing twin stick bullet hell shooting against enemies and bosses, and just the story was really cute and a lot of fun. The music is also great in this game. Like everything culminated with this, just into this weird game that I hadn't heard of that I bought for a few dollars and ended up really, really loving. So it's a great game.
I'm looking at it right now, and it does look like an absolute great time. Great pick.
Yeah. All right, and then again, a few of our friends, Mr. Mo. It's almost impossible for him to decide, but UFO 50 deserves this spot because it's the biggest gift indie game lovers ever received, but I only beat 21 of the 50 games so far, so that doesn't count. So far, I didn't beat Astral Ascent and probably won't until Friday, but definitely before next year. So that's an odd way to phrase that.
Yeah.
So either that or Balatro, and his honorable mentions go to Mini Shoot Adventures, Wild Frost, Cobalt Core. Why was that so hard?
I don't know.
Say?
Too many C's.
Yeah. Dungeon Divers, Mimic Logic, Peglin, Shogun Showdown, Patrick's Parabox, Orbital Bullet, and Dead Cells. Those are the ones that instantly come to my mind. I'm sorry.
I think Mr. Mo.
It's a lot of games to instantly come to your mind.
He loves
Mr.
it.
Mo.
He loves his indie games, but that's a list of bangers. So great list, Mr. Mo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one is his pick for the award, but whatever that is, some games in there are worth your time.
Yep.
For Vyar, his pick is the Dark Side Detective. I did not take the time to look it up. Did you know about this game?
I have no idea what that is.
Well, it looks like a 2D pixel art detective game. So that's all I can get from the screenshots. It looks pretty interesting.
Point and click adventure, according to the About page right here. Cool. Josh says, listen to episode 101 of Indie Quest, and then he laughs at us.
Yeah, he won't spill the beans on us. And I also think that he doesn't know yet what he's gonna choose for his own podcast.
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna guess Hollow Knight.
That would be a good guess. Yeah, but I don't know if they choose all indie games or only indie games from 2024, or they have different categories.
I don't know.
Remember.
I think they just do 2024 games.
Yeah.
They might do all indie games.
Yeah.
But like, if he wasn't gonna pick, Hollow Knight for Indie Quest, he could have picked it for us.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Josh.
Come
what
on.
are you doing?
And finally, Guido picked Animal Well. I did not jump on the Animal Well hype train. Maybe I should have. It sounds like a really good game. I will surely put some time in it next year.
I didn't have a PC at the time that everybody was talking about Animal Well, and it was not released on PlayStation, so I might get to it sometime next year.
Well, that was a great list of many awards, and thanks again to Mr. Mo, Vyar, Josh, and Guido who answered our email, and also, before we leave the award section, I actually asked specifically Blink, Steve from Polykill, for his Jank award, because he's the Jank master. He's like the only other person that I know that loves Jank as much as us. And his pick was Inca on the CDI. It's a weird mashup of first-person, dungeon crawling, point-and-click adventure, and arena shooter. Some of the most unhinged cutscenes and weirdest plot events. Runs kinda terrible, but it stuck with him. So, yeah. From the Jank Master...
Makes sense that he would pick a
yeah,
CDI.
exactly. He went straight to the source of Jank. The fountains of Jank.
Okay, so we have a couple other award things that we would like to shout out that don't have anything to do with gaming. And our first one is our crafting award, which is just our way of kind of talking about some of the things that we've made over the course of the year or done over the course of the year that we are proud of having done. So
exactly. For me, once again, I've decided to continue with my formula of having 3 things to shout out. So my first shout out to myself is the Peggle Shadow Box that I did and I talked about in the last episode. Really, really happy how that project turned out. And yeah, just happy I could envision this kind of project and manage to build it from scratch. And also it's kind of a toy too, so it's an interactive piece of the decoration, so that's super fun. Right now, I've been talking about making cards, and I'm almost done with turning the version of High Stakes from Pico 8 into a board game. If you want, I made this little stand, so I can put the setup cards for the dealer. So the game is almost playable right now as a full version of a board game. So I'm happy to finally have completed a project of a board game from scratch, and I'm happy with the quality that I've put out. And finally, I've had my contract to make videos for Lotto Quebec here in Quebec City, and I'm super proud that I managed to do more videos than I usually do, and having like a line of what I'm supposed to talk about and a format of how long the videos are supposed to be really helped me focus and create my own style of videos where they don't take like a billion hours to make. And I don't know, I'm not I give the award to all those three things. That those are the 3 things I've put the most time in the past year. I'm all super proud of all those projects.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable to not want to pick any one of those things. So for me, I painted a new Warhammer army this year. So the way that Warhammer Age of Sigmar works right now is that they're on a 3-year cycle of releasing a new edition of the games, which means basically a whole new rule set, new ways that the game actually functions. And I had decided about 6 months or so before the new edition dropped in June or was it July? It was June or July. So like halfway through the year, I decided for the new edition I was going to play a brand new army that I had never played before. So I bought a bunch of models for the army, which was Nighthaunt, which are ghosts, and I was like, well, if I'm going to buy a new army, I'm going to paint the entire army. And I have not painted the entire army, but I have about... So a normal Warhammer army is 2,000 points worth of models, according to the rules. And I probably have close to 4,000 points worth of Nighthaunt painted in the paint scheme that I like, which is somewhere in the realm of like 150 to 170 models-ish. somewhere around there. It's a lot. It was a lot of work. And I'm proud that I was able to get that much work done in such a short period of time. Now, granted, I did a lot of it with the airbrush, so it wasn't like a complicated paint scheme or anything like that, but it's still a lot of work, and it was still many, many hours that I had to spend. And I still have many more to go because I've bought more models since then, and I've got another tournament coming up in January on the other side of the state that I have to paint new models for. So I still have work to do, but I'm happy that I was able to do that this year.
Yeah, that's still super impressive and super cool.
All right, and then the next thing that we wanted to shout out is just some YouTube channels. We always shout out some channels on this podcast here, and we wanted to just give a shout out to some of our favorite channels that we have found throughout the year.
Not to me. It's not exactly found. Most of them is found this year.
Okay.
But the True Line is the one that resonated the most with me this year, that I followed the most.
Okay. So I picked channels that I started watching this year.
Okay. That's fine.
And we split these into two different subcategories, and those are channels that are under 50,000 subscribers and channels that are over 50,000 subscribers. And so for me, I wanted to first shout out our friend Jimmy Mook. He does card pack, like opening card packs for various types of sports cards and whatnot. I don't really care about sports cards, but I always enjoy watching people open cards and be excited about cards. So, and I didn't watch his videos prior to this year. Sorry, Mook, but I only started watching your videos this year. And they're good. I enjoy them. I'm going to send him some cards one of these days.
Good idea. And better late than never, right?
Right, for sure. And then the other channel that I wanted to shout out is this other small channel. He's Benjamin Stevens. I found him because he had a video go kind of viral about him making a bow from redwood or red oak from like a Home Depot. But most of his videos are about him, like, he lives in Alaska and he basically just lives off the land, and he's doing like vlog style survivalist kind of stuff. But he's also apparently like a professional artist, so like he does some work for like a museum up in Alaska, and like that's how he makes his money. But he also basically lives off grid, so a lot of his videos are about bow making, they're about hunting, they're about surviving, in rough climates. And I have been practicing archery for a really long time, so I find that interesting.
That's super cool. Love that. For me, I have 3 channels to shout out. The first one is Massacres Mansion, which is a channel where the guy decided to try to make the ultimate Uno version. So he's trying to combine every Uno version into one single game. So each game, if they have unique rules, he adds those rules to the sheet, and now he just has a list of like 300 different rules, and in every episode he was just finding every Uno version that ever existed and explaining why the rules are getting added or not and everything. And now he's actually designing cards and everything without the Uno lexicon and art and everything, so we can make his legally distinct Uno ultimate version.
Okay.
And that loving to make card games and creating games in general, I love the effort, and he's just chill and he's just making that for fun. And if that game ever releases, I'm buying it day one. It looks like a really fun party game.
I have a question for you about his channel. Did he have
Yeah.
a video that went like super viral at some point in time?
Yeah, he
Within
made
like the last year?
Yeah, he made a video about Monopoly cheaters and how he hates that game, and that video kind of went viral. That's how I
Okay.
met him. Well, I discovered him, and then he started his amalgam series.
Okay. I was wondering because sometime earlier this year, one of my friends came by. We had a night where we were supposed to play Dungeons and Dragons, and we had a couple of our players not be able to make it. So the other two players, so we had 3 of us instead of 5 of us, came over, and and one of my friends, my friend Mike, was like, "Hey, do you want to play this version of Uno where we have mashed together like 15 different Uno decks?" And so I was just wondering if maybe he got this idea from this channel, which is very possible.
Yeah, that's possible. He really grew in the last year. He's still at like 20. He's now at 42,000 K subscriber. But when I started following him at the beginning of the year, he had like 5K or something like that. So he really grew
Right.
in popularity.
Okay.
My second shout out, I already shouted him out, is our friend Boxography. The way I have that's King. The way King Octavius just does is videos where he shows the boxes and everything interesting about those old games. It's just chill. It's just fun. Love a simple, good, focused YouTube channel, and I hope he continues for a long time because every 2 weeks when he puts on a video, that's the first thing I do in the morning. I watch his stuff. That's just good content.
Yeah, it's good.
And finally, Charlie's Cafe. The guy is modding and revamping Mario Kart courses. So his big project in the last year was he remade Coconut Mall, but in HD for Mario Kart 8, and he's bringing those old classic courses and remaking the textures and showing his process of building that geometry, deciding which textures goes where, and how he's putting that in the game. And it's just a fun time. He's trying stuff in modding, and I love the way he presents his stuff, and he's very passionate about what he does. And yeah, good stuff.
Cool. And then our final thing is for the larger YouTube channels that we wanted to shout out, which I don't know, I would say we tend to try and shout out smaller channels or lesser known channels a lot of times. Yeah. So for me, for this year, I wanted to shout out some of the larger channels that I have started watching this year. And the first one I've already mentioned once on this podcast. It's Uri Tuchman. Man, I can't stop watching this guy's videos. They're just so much fun. He's got such a great sense of humor, and the projects that he is making are so weird and unique, and he has a very specific style that I don't think many other makers on YouTube have. No. And like there's plenty of other makers, like there's plenty of makers that have huge channels like Fireball Tool or like Adam Savage from Mythbusters fame.
Yeah.
Like I watch both of those guys. They have like millions of followers each. Well, Fireball is almost 1 million. Adam Savage is like 6 point whatever million because it's fucking Adam Savage. But like
yeah.
Uri Tuchman, he has such a weird, unique style to how he's making his videos, and the stuff that he's making is so weird and different from everybody else. It's great. I love his videos. Annie Austin is a content creator that I found earlier this year, and I found him. Let's see if I can find what the first video I saw from him was. I think it was one of his. He has like this whole series of videos where he's looking at the rivers of different video games and like trying to find where they start and where they go, and those are all really fun. But then he also has these videos where he's just looking at like the weird and mundane things that you're not really supposed to look at in video games, and those are also really fun. And then he has this whole series of videos that I also watched where he's critiquing like the hygiene standards of the restaurants within the like inns within Skyrim, and like how messy they are or how neat and tidy they are. Like he's making weird videos, and he really blew up this year.
Exactly.
He's great. He's a lot of fun.
Great pick. I love his stuff too. His employment rate videos are pretty fun too. Yeah.
The employment rate videos are great too. And then Floydson is an Australian content creator who got started making Stardew Valley content, actually.
Okay.
And all of his content now is him kind of doing Let's Plays, but they're not like normal Let's Plays. He plays various types of survival games or like farming sim style games, and just kind of, and he does the like 100 days format that some content creators have been doing for that kind of genre of game. But the way he narrates and like provides a story over the course of his games. Actually, you know what? I did not find Floydson this year because I found him last year because I found out about Graveyard Keeper because of this guy.
Oh, okay. But still.
And then fucking loved Graveyard Keeper. Doesn't matter. His content's great.
Cool.
They're just, his videos are really, really entertaining. In the way that he talks about like the progression of what he's doing throughout the course of playing a game.
That's the kind of thing I find fascinating. Like, he has a bunch of videos of over 1 million views. He has 630k subscribers, and I don't think I've ever seen anything of his pop in my YouTube feed. Like, there are so many huge, like really big content creator that we don't know exist. That's pretty wild to me. Yeah. It's crazy that like somebody can be that big and you just never know that they existed. And even within the gaming space, because we watch a lot of the same content creators within the gaming sphere, just kind of in general, but we'll still be able to point out people to each other that have huge followings that we've never heard of before. Exactly.
It's kind of weird.
On my end, my bigger channels are not actually gaming related this year. The first one I shout him out last episode, I think. It's Sam Reid. He does a bunch of stuff mostly about food, but he brands himself like a night show host, and he just tries to find weird ways of approaching America, basically. Like, he tried to walk the least walkable city in America. He's trying to find all the best wings in America. Which are the best airport lounges if you want to pay for those. He just tried to find the best deals and the best value in everything, and he seems like a really genuine guy, and he seems happy, and he doesn't look like a sellout, and he's not doing over the top stuff. He's just having fun with his concept, and I love that. My second pick is Kurtis Conner. We talked a bit about him together, I think. He showed up in my recommendations because he did a video where he found an old gaming accessories, an old gaming chair, and that whole video was super good. It's well narrated. It had some interviews with interesting people, and that video was super fun. And then I started binging his content, and most of his content is just him making jokes of random movies, random TikTok trends, and that's the gist of his channel. And it's easy to create that kind of content, but this guy is also a comedian. He goes on tour and makes stand-up for a living. So when he does that same kind of videos that a lot of people do on the internet, well, is make me laugh all the time because he's actually a funny guy. So he's using his talent to make a chill YouTube channel where I'm just having fun. I've been binging his channel for the past month or so, and that's always what I turn to in the last few weeks. And yeah, love that guy.
Right.
And finally,
yeah,
thanks. And finally, my last shout out is Brutalmoose. Brutalmoose is actually like my favorite YouTuber ever. I just love his style. I wish he just made more videos. And why I shout him out this year in particular is because every year he goes up and down. Sometimes he's more into streaming. Sometimes he just doesn't feel like making videos. But this year he made more videos than usual. And he came back to his like weird food vlog style. And I love his videos because he does a lot of video edits and subtle comedy moments in like the way he moves. Like sometimes he will just do weird cuts with his hands, and he will add like fruits or meat getting cut while he moves, and it's just silly stuff all around. And I really appreciate like that kind of dedication of making a lot of visual gags, since YouTube is a visual medium. And yeah, I love these offerings of videos this year, so I wanted to shout him out. It was a great year for his content.
Excellent. I'm sure I have so many more content creators I could shout out at, but we could probably go on for hours at this point of just different people that we enjoy their videos. So we're not going to do that.
Yeah, they will come. No, they will come on the show at some point. We shout people every episode anyway, so
right.
They will have their time to shine.
What was the name of the guy that did the those arcade videos that you shared on the last episode?
Oh, it's Capybara, I think. No, that's just the name of the animal. But his logo, his profile image is a capybara. Is Capybarsky.
Capybarsky. Okay, I want to shout that guy out also as like one of the under 50K subscribers, because after you shouted him out, I binged every one of his videos. It was very entertaining while I was playing. What was I playing? I think I was playing Surviving Mars. And just trying to make my colony survive on Mars and watching this guy's videos for hours. It was great.
Nice. Happy I managed to find something that you were happy to binge.
Yeah. Oh, no, I wasn't playing Surviving Mars. I was playing Phantom Brave, the strategy RPG. And I was just like grinding some levels on some of my characters in that game. That game's really good. Man, that game's really good. Nippon Ichi just knows how to make a good strategy RPG. I'm telling you what.
Yeah. Nice. But I think that rounds us up.
Yeah, I think that'll do it for us tonight. So, we would like to thank Heath Aldrich for our intro and outro music. You can find a link to all of his music on his Bandcamp page at heathaldrich.bandcamp.com.
And we would also like to thank RainbowSavvyDesigns for our logo. Links to both of their works will be available in the show notes.
And you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/scotchandhobbies. I stream usually every Monday and Wednesday around 5 or 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also find me on social media if you want at scotchandhobbies.
And if you want to play some of my games, you can check my itch.io page at itch.io/Potomax. Otherwise, you can see what I'm playing on Blusky at Potomax. And if you speak French, I have a ton of videos on the good old YouTube at youtube.com/jeuxbière.